I said I might have miscounted, but I did my best. I think there's like 8 months.
Hello? Got the mic
on? Maybe. Jeez.
Call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the purpose of the meeting here today is to discuss the ongoing, and I want to say it's ongoing, negotiations with the village of Almont for police services to the township, okay? I'm going to make a few comments, try to give you some background on where we're at, and then we'll get into public comment. Each will be allowed 3 minutes. We're not going to get into a debate. We're going to listen to your comments, and thank you for your comments. One thing that I want to make emphatically clear, because there seems to be some misinformation floating around on what we call Facebook, okay? The SRO, the School Resources Officer that we currently have through Almont Village, that issue will not fall along the wayside. We will continue to have an SRO officer, whether it's through Almont Village Police Department or possibly through the Lapeer County Sheriff's Office. I spoke with the County Sheriff, Scott McKenna, on several occasions, and he's very emphatic that he supports that policy of SRO officers in the schools, and that would be full-time, the same manner in which we are served currently. With all due respect to the officers from Almont PD who are here today, my hat's off to you. I respect you guys fully, what the full board does, the community does. You guys are doing a great job. Your chief's doing a great job. This simply boils down to a dollars and cents issue. No problems with Almont PD whatsoever. It is the hopes of the township board and myself that we retain Almont Police Department, okay? With all due respect to the sheriff, I have to thank him for his willingness to discuss the issues with us. But it's something that this board has to do to be fiscally responsible to everyone in this community, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. So that being said, sometime back in January, I think it was on the 26th, I emailed Mr. Purvison from the village manager, asking him when we could sit down for negotiations to renew or come up with a new police contract. So he indicated that, he emailed me back, indicated that they had a new clerk treasurer that was hired, and he wanted her to get acclimated with the facts and figures with the village budgeting before we entered into negotiations. So it was sometime later, and I don't have that calendar date in front of me, that we did meet. I want to say it was probably close to 2 months later. But to give you some history, back on the prior contract, we had a contract price of roughly $460,000 for contracting one police officer within the township of Almont. Last year, that figure was increased by $300,000. Okay, so we bargained that down to $650,000. Okay, we saved $100,000. That was on a one-year contract. We requested a 3-year contract. The village did not want to honor a 3-year contract. They were pretty emphatic about a 1-year contract. So we accepted that. Part of that increase was they thought that the Almont Township community should be paying a larger portion of the budget, okay? Because according to the Clemens report, 60% of the police calls were occurring within the township of Almont. My personal feelings, and I think the board, most of the board members agree with me, that the Clemens report really is a statistical document that's generally used by the Michigan State Police for statistical purposes, okay? So if we have a police officer in Almont Township, he gets the same pay grade, whether he's busy, not busy, okay? We're buying a police officer, we're not buying a certain amount of police calls per se. So it turns out that within the village and the township of Almont, we have one police officer that patrols both communities, okay, both communities. This year, we went in negotiations thinking that it may be a cost of living increase, possibly something that was affordable. The initial offer came in at $950,000, okay? So now we're talking $600,000 above and beyond what the original contract was at 460, 450, 460. We didn't quite understand what the over budgeting was, okay? In my opinion, it was over budgeted. The budget last year was $1,476,000. Doing a straight line analysis of their budget, they should use about $1,200,000. Okay, so we have an overage, unused portion of that budget. So talking to Mr. Kirbyson, he says, well, in reality, we'll probably use $1,300,000. So that's still $176,000 over budgeted. Okay, and then he wants to add another couple $100,000 to it. So the board, okay, has that responsibility, again, to be fiscally responsible. It's no reflection on the Almont Township or the Almont Police Department. Okay, the guys are doing a great job. I think we all love them. But I want to make that perfectly clear that this is strictly a dollars and cents issue. Okay, the sheriff is willing to work with us. He came in with a estimated budget of approximately $510,000 a year. Okay, so he allocates, or the county of Lapeer allocates $110,000 a year to budget for the SRO officer. The SRO officer would remain in place, be it the Almont Village or the sheriff. Okay, so we're not losing an SRO officer. Our last meeting for the village, they came in with an offer of $800,000. Okay, they did drop by $150,000, but again, we feel that's still over budgeted. I asked to sit down with the village to maybe share in the budgeting process. Okay, they did say that we could be a 50-50 partnership with the cost of the contract, but we had no say in the budgeting process. Okay, and I don't particularly feel that's quite fair. Okay, I'd like to look at this process as somewhat as a business type proposition for our community. So I think that the township would deserve some say in the budgeting process, especially in our estimation that it's an over budgeted process. So that being said, I consider that we're still in negotiations with the village. We have not said that we're done or we're going with the sheriff, but we are entertaining all offers, okay? Be it again from the village or from the sheriff. Now, tomorrow, Wednesday, there is an ad hoc committee formed at the county commissioner level with Brian Zender, our local county commissioner, Ian Kemp, and Gary Howell, the chairperson of the Lapeer County Commission, to discuss the contract offer from them and get some hard numbers, some more accurate numbers. But as it appears, we're $200,000 to $250,000 cheaper going with the Almont, or going with the Lapeer County Sheriff. We can debate, I guess, is the cost offset worth it, not worth it? That's to be determined, I guess. Okay, so to rest everyone's thoughts on the SRO, I just want to be quite clear that the SRO will stay intact. Okay, be it a brown uniform or a blue uniform. Okay, no disrespect again, and I can't make that clear enough. No disrespect to Almont Village Police Department. We are bargaining with the village council and the village manager, not the police department. I'm going to open up comments from the board. If the board has anything to add.
I would just like to add, if we go with the village police, everyone's taxes will have to increase. We can only use money that we collect from the special assessment for the police fund. We cannot use money from the general fund. The reason we cannot use money from the general fund is because we collect taxes from both the township residents and the village residents. So if we take money from our general fund, we are double dipping on village residents. So that is why we are not allowed to do that. So please understand, if we have to raise the price for this price goes on to all taxpayers, because we are not going to collect enough money at our current rate for the police millage. We will not collect enough money to pay this contract. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that this does affect the residents, because your taxes will have to increase.
Your current millage rate is 2.25, okay, which generates $616,805, okay? Now, to go to $800,000, we would have to increase that millage by 0.75%, or up to 3 mills. That would generate $822,285, just over what their final offer has been to date. So it's an issue, that this board has to determine. Is it worth that extra millage increase? My personal feeling is it's a budgeting issue. We need to sharpen the pencil a little more and hopefully work together with the village. If not, then I guess our only alternative would be to fall back on the sheriff's contract offer.
Just to clarify, the increase would only be to township residents.
Township
Correct.
residents.
Correct, because the special assessment only goes to township residents for the police department. Because we purchase that as a service, right? It's kind of like a lawn service. We just pay for one officer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the village or in the township. To me, it doesn't really matter how many calls they get. If we had too many, then we would have to add another officer, and we would go back and say, we need to raise this millage, maybe put it on the ballot and say, do we need to increase our police department? I think what we've had so far is adequate. So having one officer serves that purpose. But it is, again, just the township only.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I do have a couple comments. I'm glad you talked about the SRO, because he is invaluable and he's very loved. Our children went to Almont schools. Our grandchildren currently go there, and they wave when they see the Almont police cars. So you're very appreciated. And also, the Almont Police Department does a fantastic job. I've been a vocal advocate for the police department from day one. I was one of the 4 votes to continue our contract with the Almont Police Department last year. And I believe this contract is still salvageable. But the ball's in the hands of the village right now. I'm not sure who created the budget in question that we're being asked to consider. But from what I understand, the village council has not seen had input or approved it. So I don't understand how it's possible that we are being asked to make a hard decision at this time without any input from the village council. The village council they're the elected representatives that need the input on this. And we're being asked to increase our portion of the payment, $500,000 in the past 2 years. This past year, and now this, $500,000. And I question why this very large increase. So that's concerning to me. And we are allowed no input to how that money is spent. And basically, we're being asked to hand over a blank check. And this should be very concerning to everybody who is a taxpayer. I believe we need the village council to step in and take ownership of the budget and rework that. Present something that is fair, equitable, and common sense as soon as possible. Again, we want to continue with Almont Police Department, but there has to be a reasonable cost to that. We can't do it at just unlimited cost. We would also like reasonable managerial input as to how our tax dollars are spent. It's not easy to sit in this chair, but I'm trying to act in the best interest of the people that elected me, because this is not my money that we're talking about here. This is your money. And I take that very seriously. And I try to answer the questions that I have. And hopefully those are some of the questions that our residents have too. So again, I'm glad to see everybody out here. This is the way it's supposed to work. So thanks for coming out tonight. I appreciate that. And I'll hand it off to someone else.
Yeah, so Gary, I'll make a couple of comments. First off, the Almont Police Department has been extremely cooperative. Anytime we've asked questions, anytime we've needed information, they've sat down, they've explained it. We do not negotiate with them. They're not at the table. They're not the ones that we're dealing with. So I want to make sure everybody understands that any disagreement is not with the Almont Police Department. The police chief has told us he can work with whatever budget we give him, and I believe he can. I really do. I think he will manage to whatever the number is. The one thing that I don't think he can manage is the stress of every year having to go through this same process, which is why we wanted to have a 3-year contract. We tried to get one last year. Nobody wants to come to work with a sword hanging over their head each year that maybe I'm going to lose my job. That's not fair. We wanted that. We asked for that. We were turned down. The other thing that I really want everybody to think about, I saw a lot of people getting angry at the sheriff. He did not approach us. We approached him. Okay, we were given a figure that was, in our opinion, maybe untenable, and we approached him. So the sheriff, I don't want anybody holding any kind of grudge against him, like, oh, he's trying to swoop in. That wasn't the case. The police have a job to do. We pay them to stand in harm's way, and they do it, and they do it very well. Firefighters have a job to do. They run into a burning building. I run out of them. Okay, we're just different. We also have a job, and I'm going to read something to you. This is from the MTA handbook. This is kind of the Bible for how business or how government runs at a municipal level. Overall responsibility, this is the Board of Trustees. You have overall responsibility and liability for the township's funds and financial obligations. Trustees should be given an opportunity to investigate and study important decisions. In our opinion, and when they talked about the increase in the millage rate, what they didn't include is the fact, just like when you have an escrow for taxes on your mortgage, if you have a shortfall the prior year, you have to pay that back, and then they increase what you have to pay next year to stay even with it. Depending on how you calculate our shortfall, if you want to run out of money in December or you want to run out of money in January, if we do nothing, our do nothing scenario, just keep the same rate we're at, $650,000 a year, and pay back what we owe on the shortfall, we're going to be roughly at 2.47 to 2.66 mils this year. That's if we do nothing. So that's somewhere between a 0.25 and a 0.4 mil increase. That's fairly significant. But if you go to the 800,000 level, remember in July, we start paying the higher rate. we're not bringing in any new money, but the rate jumped up. So you're creating a bigger shortfall. And as Jenny explained, you have to pay it back within the fiscal year that you borrow it. So you have to have a recovery mechanism. Now, we can play with it, and I know they're very good at managing this, but if you do that, we were looking at with the 800,000, somewhere between a 1 and a 1.25 mil increase. That's a lot of money. So knowing that, I think the fiduciary right thing to do is we got to explore options. Okay, we absolutely had to explore options, and that's kind of what we did. And it had nothing to do with, oh, we don't like the Almont. I mean, they're great guys. They work their butts off. They have done fabulous things this year. They've been in the newspaper for the things that they've done. And we all appreciate them. It comes down to you have an obligation to at least explore what is best financially. That's our job. So thank you. I appreciate everybody being here. I wish every meeting was this full. It'll never happen, but thanks for being here.
Okay, well, I guess I'm the person on this board that represents the agricultural. I guess I'd like to make a few comments. At 2.25 right now, I got these figures from Andrew. At 2.25, they're gonna pay $7.43 an acre for this police coverage right now. If it goes to 3, it's going to go to $9.90 an acre. And I don't think any farmer wants to pay that right now with fuel, fertilizer, seed, whatever. And I did some quick math here. It's going to take 185 and a half bushels of $4 corn to pay that. I'm at 225, or 67 and a half bushel of beans at $11. And I don't think that anybody that owns land in Almont wants that increase right now. And I appreciate everybody's comments. Mike, Jenny, Gary, Kim, Rick, Dennis, we're going to hear from you.
Yep.
So.
Well, Gary, I guess my challenge when I look at this is the way the budget is built. I understand the challenges in building a budget the way they did and the unexpected, trying to predict what's going to happen and what's going to be the cost over a 3-year period. But there are some, I think there's some room if we could actually negotiate. I don't see that negotiation has happened. I think we've had exchanges of information, but not necessarily trying to negotiate. Your offers have been not well received by the village. And I understand, I mean, there's numbers in there that they have to estimate. There's numbers in there they have to guess at. But the challenge for me as a trustee is to look at a potential tax increase and pay 50% or so into a cost to do business with no managerial input is a challenge. And I think it would be very difficult to do both. So I would be challenged on a tax increase with no managerial input and how that money is spent. There's things in there, and I totally understand they're trying to predict what those costs are going to be out 3 years. That is a challenge. It just seems like the sheriff's formula is pretty simple. You got the cost of one officer times 5 plus a car, bingo, that's it. The village budget carries a lot more baggage than that. I totally understand that. And I certainly do appreciate the officers. This is a great police force. We get that from the outside of the township as well, comments on this police force. The chief has done a marvelous job. Don't have any problems with the chief. Enjoy chatting with him, and he sure can chat. But it is a challenge not to have a say in what may or may not the money be used for. We're going to pay a bundle of money, whether that money is used. It can only be used for, as Jenny said, the Almont Township Police protection because of the SAD. And we're looking for 24/7, same as the sheriff offered. So I hope there's still room for negotiations to keep this police force. But it's a challenge not to have any say when you're investing 50% into that entity without any say as to how the money is spent. So that's a challenge for me.
Anything else from the board?
And just to make everybody, just to clarify, the township owns half of the building that the police are currently in. So we do work together with the village and we share that building. So I just wanted to make that clear.
That's also where the sheriff's department would be housed if we were to go that direction.
That would be the
Correct.
most appropriate housing for the sheriff, yes. We're gonna move on into, public comment. Public comment, let me finish. We don't want to enter into a debate, okay? Each individual, I would ask, steps to the podium, states their name, their place of residence, be it village, township, or wherever. We have a 3-minute time limit, and we totally respect what you do have to say, and it will be considered in our decision. I've got a request here, and I don't know if Mindy is here.
Is Mindy? Mindy is there, yes. I know you have to get to work, so
Where is she?
she is right there.
Okay, hi, Mindy. If you could step forward, and then after Mindy, then we'll take a raise of hands, so.
Thank you. I appreciate you accommodating me. My name is Mindy Steffler. I'm an Almont Village resident and on Almont Village Council. I will be brief because I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to speak this morning, and I'm sure you want to hear everything everyone has to say. I'm here this morning because I do feel that having one police department that services the entire community is the best thing for all of us. And just want to express that I'm willing to continue the negotiations because I strongly feel that we can find a middle ground and we can decide on numbers, we can decide on a whole host of things, or we can negotiate on them to get to a place where we can continue our Almont Police Department. So I just wanted you all to hear that, that coming from me, I'm willing to keep negotiating, and I would encourage the township to do the same. That's all. Thank you.
More than willing. Thank
Great.
you, Mindy.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay. Anybody else would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is William Burkholder, 4673 Kidder Road, Almont, Michigan. And I just wanted to say, or ask a question. Have we considered grants? Are there federal grants out there that might be able to take and offset this cost?
Grants are always considered, sir.
You know, I mean, as opposed to raising the taxes. But I myself personally, I can't speak for anybody else, but for myself, to raise that mill to keep these officers on site, on task, it would be worth it to me, you know. I go back to the recent shooting we had down Van Dyke Road here earlier this year, you know, and our police were there in minutes, you know, and from what I've understood, and this is just based on Facebook, that response times for the sheriff's department may be longer. I don't know if that's true or not.
Let me interject a comment, and I failed to do that earlier.
Yeah.
If the township contracted with the sheriff, that officer would work out of Almont Township. In other words, he would report for duty to Almont Township, not Lapeer County.
Okay.
So there would be no response, should be no response difference, okay? Because this would be his place of employment.
Okay.
Follow me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, and the good news is that, like to your statement about the SRO, I think that was a big concern. And the fact that they would retain one is perfect because we live right across the street from the elementary school. We see the officers come in and out every day. They do traffic control there every day. And it's a comforting feeling knowing that they're there.
Sure.
You know, because I mean, my point is that to say that it can't happen here, potential violence, it can, sadly, it can happen here, you know, and that's the big concern, I think. We want our kids to be kept safe. We want our community safe. So,
SRO will stay intact
Yeah.
at the current levels.
all right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Morning. Paula Alfonsi, Tiffany Drive Township. I respect everybody on the board. My questions are, you guys talk mills, and I know you mentioned agricultural. For the typical resident in the township, what would the increase be money-wise? Are we talking $50, we talking $75 per acre? Do you have any idea what that would cost?
You're referring to the agricultural community?
Homeowners.
Homeowners.
Or a homeowner?
Homeowner. That's kind of hard to, because it goes after taxable value, so there's
If
not
you
really,
had a $300,000 home, what would the tax increase be? Roughly.
Okay, a $300,000 home. Now, this comes from Andrew Yankee, our assessor, okay?
Okay,
The current millage rate at 225 with a taxable value of 150, okay, because you're 50% of the value, market value. Taxes owed would be 337.50, okay? If we went up to 3 mills on the same taxable value, taxes owed would be $450, okay? So that's a difference of $112.50. That's on a typical
on a typical
$300,000.
$300,000 home. Okay. The other question, you already answered the substation that he would be here. I have a problem handing over a bunch of money and having no say. The village council, and I know you guys have subcommittees for everything else. Why can't there be a subcommittee that works with the village and you guys work out, the budget, the say in where the money goes and that? Because I totally agree.
That's what we would like.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Jim Alec. I have a home in the township on Almont Road, and I have a business in town. From the numbers that I received from you guys, I've showed this report to 29 police officers, and every one of them said this is an impossible task to do with 5 officers. These numbers are false. They can't do it. They will be billing you extra by the end of their term. One of the other big things we have going on, I'm going to assume, because I do not believe the officer will be in this township 24 hours a day, he's given a 35% discount so he can pull them. So to me, that's telling me the sheriff's already planning 35% of the time taking that officer, or when he's on vacation. There is no takebacks. You get rid of this department, it'll cost triple to bring them back. And we'll lose good officers to other departments and other jobs that they've worked hard to get. The 7 days, the extra billing, it'll all add up. You're going to have sheriff officers doing 16-hour shifts to cover overtime when a guy's off. Who wants that? I'd like to see the full contract when it comes in, and I will for you. You know I'm coming, I'm going to keep coming. I'm not just stopping with the township, I'm going to go to the village. You guys need to quit puffing your chests out between the two of you and put the boards together and think about the people and not how you feel. To answer your question, I've done some math on my house. It works out to about $34 a year more I'm going to pay. Less than $20 a month. We all complain about money, and I'm not hurting on the farmers. The guy that's got more land is going to pay more. But if you can't afford $20 more on average, then that's wrong. That's just wrong. What's next? The fire department going to get their cuts? You're playing with public safety. You're bringing back something that went out in the 80s when the township patrolled all the townships. The school, I do not believe, will be covered all the time. Right now, currently, the sheriff's department has 4 SRO officers. From what I understand, 2 stay in Lapeer and 2 float between the schools they already had. So with that happening, that means an SRO is only going to be in the building 1 or 2 days a week. I don't believe it'll happen. The response times, priority calls. The sheriff, if I have a priority call at my house, is that one officer going to come in if there's a shooting at my house? No, he ain't. He's going to wait for backup. Now we add more time waiting for our sheriff's deputies to get here. That all adds up. That's all time spent long. In the last couple of years, I've had to call 911 3 different times for myself, whether I was hurt, heart attack, or for whatever reasons. Almont was always there first. When I had a heart attack, Almont there first. When I fell and got hurt building my house, Almont was there first to start treatment. They beat the fire department there. Quit playing with the games, spend the money, and sorry if it hurts somebody's feelings about it, but these guys are all good guys. We all admit that. Quit playing the games with it. And just so everyone does know, you will see my name on the next ballot to take one of your seats.
Hi, Jennifer Stewart, Township resident. I live on Blue Heron. I'm also a proud Raider parent. I have 3 kids here. And this is very concerning. I'm concerned about the township, what we've done in the past, because what I'm hearing is I'm somebody who's all for fiscal responsibility, making good choices, saving money, getting rid of waste. But something doesn't sit right with me. How we go from, my understanding is having a pretty similar contract budget for a very long time. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm relatively new. I heard we've sat around 450, 460 for the better part of 10, 15, potentially plus years. Would that be accurate? Okay. Well, I think we all know that cost of living, prices go up. Why didn't that go up over time? Because now here you are sitting with a huge change, right? And I feel like if there had been better planning perhaps, and there's no going back, so it's a moot point really, how we got where we are. We're here, and we have something phenomenal in the Almont Police Department. You can't recreate it, you can't replicate it. If we say goodbye to them, go with the Sheriff's Department and the sweetheart of a deal where you're getting a bargain that I don't think is going to make long term. Maybe we'll get this for a year, and in that year, we're going to lose things. We're going to have short response times are going to be gone because that officer is going to be out on other calls. That phrase, he reserves the right to take the officer whenever he sees fit. He reserves the right to call him away anytime he sees fit. Again and again and again. And at what cost? Is it the kids at the school? The fire? If Officer Wetzler hadn't been there, who's to say what we'd be doing with our kids today? The school would not have been usable for the remainder of the school year. And heaven forbid something happen. Kids with asthma, I know several kids in that school that have severe asthma. If they've been exposed to that, had he not been there, been present, who's to say we wouldn't have lost some of our kids to something like that? The shooting, who's to say that guy's intent wasn't just that one person? What if it was a broader scope? Almont PD was there right away. You can't put a price on life, limb safety. Police, fire, we have a good thing going. And talking about them, you guys have sung their praises, as have other people in the community. They have phenomenal working relationships with each other. They come from different departments from around the area with a wealth of experience and knowledge. Hundreds of years combined. They work well together. Now, they have not all come from the same place, but they have just, they work well. And they work well with people in the community. They're present, they're responsive, they're respectful.
She's got 30 seconds.
We can't replicate it. Pulling them 30% of the time on the possibility of a good discount just doesn't make sense. Other communities have done this in the past. It's not worked out necessarily. I know Armada has considered it. Now, Macomb Lapeer, they've put it to the people. Let us vote. Don't wear this burden for yourselves. Let us make the decision. It's our tax money. It's our tax increase. Why not get it on a ballot? But more importantly, go to the table, talk to the village again, because we are Village Township. We are Almont. as a whole, collectively, one community. Let these guys continue to serve us in the way that they have, because the sheriff's department, not that they're not good, they're qualified, they can't do it. They cover 663 square miles, 89,516 people. They're in 16 townships now. Let's give them one more. I don't know about that.
This might be the best time to segue here. Good morning. I'm Kimberly Von Hiltmeyer, Superintendent of Almont Community Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today as you prepare to make an important decision. I recognize the weight of the responsibility before you, and I do not envy the position of having to assign a cost to something as fundamental as the safety of our students, staff, and community. I'm here to respectfully advocate for the continued presence of a full-time school resource officer in our district, and I have heard your message that that will not be compromised. Although with some of the things that I've heard, it may not be the same resource officer, school resource officer that in the building or throughout the district every day. In today's world, conversations about school safety are no longer hypothetical. Across the country, incidents of school violence have shaped how students, parents, and educators experience the school day. For many, safety is not an abstract concept, it is deeply personal. Parents send their children to school each morning with the expectation that they will return home safely. Educators carry the dual responsibility of both teaching and protecting the students entrusted to their care. Given this reality, the presence of a school resource officer, Officer Wetzler, is not simply an enhancement, it is an essential component of a comprehensive safety plan. First, an SRO provides immediate on-site response in emergencies. In critical situations, time is everything. Whether responding to a medical emergency, a physical altercation, or a potentially life-threatening event, having a trained law enforcement professional already on campus significantly reduces response time. Waiting even a few additional minutes for outside assistance can have serious consequences. An SRO ensures that help is not on the way, it's already present. We do not need to speak about this in theoretical terms. Just a few weeks ago, as mentioned, our elementary school may have suffered catastrophic damage without the swift and decisive actions of our school resource officer and some of our staff members. That's Officer Wetzler. That moment alone underscores what it is at stake and why immediate trained response is so critical. Second, we must acknowledge the very real concerns surrounding school safety today. Students, parents, and staff are all aware, and that awareness can impact concentration, mental well-being, and the overall learning environment. The consistent presence of an SRO helps alleviate that anxiety. It sends a clear, visible message that safety remains a top priority in this district. That reassurance is vital in fostering an environment where students can focus on learning and growth. Third, school resource officers are not only responders, they are also proactive in prevention. Fourth, SROs serve as mentors and trusted adults within the school community. When students feel comfortable with an officer, they are more likely to report concerns, whether related to bullying, potential threats, or other issues. That trust becomes a critical layer of protection. We witnessed the importance of this firsthand this past winter when a school bus accident occurred. Sergeant Kowalik presence provided calm, reassurance, and support to students during a frightening moment. That level of care leaves a lasting impact. And speaking of Sergeant Kowalik, our school community is beyond grateful for his commitment and genuine care to uphold the highest safety standards surrounding our campus and beyond. Finally, the presence of an SRO supports our educators and administrators. Our staff are trained to teach, guide, and inspire, not to serve as law enforcement. At a time when concerns about school safety continue to grow, removing a school resource officer would send a message that safety is negotiable. Maintaining an SRO, the same SRO, however, reflects a clear and commitment to protecting our students, supporting our staff, and addressing the concerns of our community. I just wanted to conclude with a couple quotes that I've taken from a teacher and a student. From a teacher, Officer Mike, our student resource officer, is a tremendous asset to our high school. His continuous smile, positive energy, and engaging personality make a meaningful difference for both students and staff. And from the student, an SRO is important to our school. They provide insight, comfort, and most of all, safety. SROs are not just last resort options either. Having an officer on site deters many conflicts. Not only does an SRO help the school regarding violence and criminal activity, but having police around acclimates students to the world. Children may feel intimidated or scared around police, but involving them in everyday life helps intertwine authoritative figures with students. There's also the help of learning laws and rules. Just the other day, we had a town hall meeting at school. Officer Wetzler spoke about social media and the potential punishments for disorderly use. Officer Wetzler contributes greatly to the overall school's well-being. Please keep him here. Thank you for your time, your service, and your thoughtful consideration.
Can I say one thing? Can I just jump in real quick? Absolutely. Pardon me. I'm glad you brought that up. Our grandchildren were at the OP when Officer Wetzler stepped up. So, words can't express this community feels with what we feel for you. And I think you know that. I'm glad you also brought up the fact about the SRO. I was on the board when we originally approved funding, placing an SRO in the schools. And it's one of the things I'm really proud about, that we did that. The good thing is, because we have that, the residents approved, the county approved a law millage with the county. If you look at your tax bill, you'll see law on there. That pays for the county for law enforcement. That funding in there is where we are able to pay for the SRO. So the county, we get that money from the county. They will pay for the SRO. We hope it continues to be Sergeant Wetzler. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And also, we did have a special assessment vote back in '97, and it was about creating a special assessment district to put a millage and a special assessment on our tax bill for police coverage. So we voted as a community back in '97 to do that. So I just wanted to clarify that for everyone.
Yes, and let me add to that, prior to the countywide millage passing that covers the SRO, the village, the township, and the school district split that cost, a third, a third, a third. So we've supported the SRO process for decades, right? I mean, it's not something that we're looking to give up. That seems to be part of the, for short of another word, rhetoric about we're going to get rid of the SRO. That is not our intent at all. So.
Appreciate that. My name is Barb Lewis. I'm the proud principal of Almont Middle School. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. While I appreciate your difficult decision, I am here to strongly advocate for the continued service of Officer Wetzler as our school resource officer. While school safety is often discussed in terms of procedures and protocols, I want to emphasize the human element, because that's where Officer Wetzler and the other Almont PD officers make the greatest impact. On a daily basis, they're visible and reassuring presence in our building. They walk our halls, greet students by name, and build meaningful relationships that foster trust and respect. Our students don't just see them as law enforcement. They see them as mentors, role models, and individuals who generally care about their well-being. Officer Wetzler also provides important safety education to our students, helping them understand how to make responsible decisions and stay safe both in and out of school. And these lessons are proactive, impactful, and help shape a safer school culture. See, I even get choked up because even though I'm not a resident, safety is my main concern, and keeping these kids safe. In addition, Almont PD presence ensures that we have an immediate trained response to urgent situations or emergencies, and we've had several this year, and Officer Wetzler is oftentimes the first person through the door. That level of readiness provides peace of mind, not only for our staff and students, but also for our families and the greater community. Quite simply, Officer Wetzler and the Almont PD, they're committed to our children, to our schools, and to this community. Their work goes far beyond security. They help create an environment where students feel safe, supported, and ready to learn. I respectfully ask that you continue to support and maintain his role as our school resource officer. It's an investment in the safety, well-being, and future of our students. Thank you for your time and consideration.
My name is Mark Lowers. I'm at 3795 Glover Road. Myself, my son, and our family's farm in Almont Township, Berlin, and Emily and a couple others too, but those are the three that are close. I want to thank you guys. I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about the Almont Police Department or the SRO or anything. So 80% of it's, everybody's agreeing, even though everybody's excited. I guess what I'd like to say is that I appreciate you guys and your fiscal responsibility and taking that obligation seriously, because we just went through the board review a month ago, and I have a field that's on either side of Berlin. It's in Berlin and Almont Township. And the Almont Township side, the taxes are 3 times what they are in the Berlin side. And I have other land in Imlay versus Almont, and Imlay's half. And so a mill or a mill and a half doesn't sound like a big deal. But to a retired person who owns 120 acres and we pay them rent, $1,000 or $1,500 a year to them for taxes is a big deal. And a cornfield doesn't need a lot of police protection. Families do. I understand that. Traffic does. I'm not anything against police. You guys have a tough decision. I encourage your fiscal responsibility. I hope the village council and you guys can come to a good agreement and negotiate properly. I think 100% increase in a matter of 2 or 3 years. We've all seen inflation. This is kind of excessive. And I think they're building in anticipated inflation into their price, and I'm not sure we can do that. You may have to go with a 1 year plan just to take care of that fear. But a 50% or 100% increase in a millage for police protection, I think, is ridiculous. I'm grateful that the sheriff is an option so that you can at least have a little discussion, a little competition, because without competition, we all get soft. Anyway, thank you for the job you do.
Well, I'm Steve. I'm the mechanic over at the school for the buses, and just want to say I work directly with Miss Von Meyer, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Kim. We'll just go there. And Officer Retzler very much. I just want to say not too long ago, back in January, I believe, we had a bus accident on the corner of Tubb Spring and Shoemaker. Okay. Almont was right there, and they were the first on the scene to assess to make sure all the children were safe. And then I showed up because, of course, I was home already. Makes sense. And a lot of cars are blowing through our red light stops on 53. And immediately, directly with Helen Hackey, who is the supervisor over there, as soon as we have a problem with that, we contact the village police department, and they're sitting at the end of that route waiting, and usually we'll get them. And I don't know about you, but I hold a lot of children's lives in my hands every day, and safety is a #1 priority for me. And working directly with Almont Police Department has been nothing but a pleasure, and I hope you consider the option very closely, because I'm not even a resident. I live in K-Pac, but I've been with Almont for 3 years now, and the close relationship we have with the police department is phenomenal, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Sandra Peltz. I live on Eagle Drive, and I'm listening to everything, and I just happen to be an accountant. So my question to you guys is 900,000, 600,000. It's not an apple and an apple. It should be an apple and an apple here. Maybe you guys should go, well, ask the village why this $600,000 is $900,000, and what are you going to get for the $600,000? Are you going to get a Chihuahua versus a German Shepherd? It seems like there's something being masked here that nobody seems to be questioning the difference in the cost. It seems like we're going to get less service, and maybe the village, what's the village paying compared to what we're paying? Seems like maybe they may be going sneaking in a little bit and having us cover them for, the size, I'm going to say the population. So that would be something that you guys would help me out, just saying. Thank you.
Good morning, Ron Chapman, lifelong township resident, and will likely die here. But I don't know the details of the current negotiations So I'm not going to really comment on that. I'm going to leave that up to the respective boards. But I think going forward, what I hear this morning is not a question of performance of the APD. The questions, concerns seem to be coming from the operation and management. I don't know if there's anything that could be done maybe going forward, but consider overhauling the police department, create an Almont community police department, and have it jointly operated and managed by the township and the village. But that's all. Have a good day.
Brenda Savani, I live on Howland Road, 3630. My question is, if they're supplying one police officer, the sheriff, that means you figure 8-hour days. Well, so they have to have someone here 24 hours a day. So that I make sure that that's covered. But the other thing is, the township is growing. We have so many more houses. Has the income from the extra houses, is that being factored in? Because, I mean, just the number of houses on our road is amazing. And I know they're planning more. I've worked in a school that had actually I worked in Port Huron School District. And we had some schools that were with the city and some that were with the sheriff. I can say, because I've seen it personally, the response time is better with the city schools. The sheriff comes, but he's not as close. So I know for a fact that that is a truism, simply because I have lived it. And I would like to think that we're not going to have a problem, but like they said, you just never know. Why can't we, because I was born on a farm. Why does the millage have to be the same for farm fields as it does for homes? That's stupid. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Isn't that something that could be considered as well? Maybe it has been. Maybe I'm just ignorant of all the laws, which I am. So.
Can I, let me just take a moment just to answer her question about the hours. Okay, and also I think it goes to a comment that was made earlier. The sheet of paper that you showed all the officers, the gentleman in the black t-shirt, that showed 2,088 hours. That was for 3 officers. We need 5. So if you want to provide 24/7 coverage, 365 days a year, that takes 8,760 man hours to do that. So you're asking, what would happen? They work 8 hours and then they're gone. No, all the calculations have been based on 5 officers, which more than cover that 8,760 hours. The example that the sheriff sent over, you notice it was 3 officers. It was a day shift, and I think there was like 3 different shift levels. His actual price of $510 was for 5 officers, not the 3 on that sheet. So your guys were absolutely right. He couldn't do it with those 3 officers. No, we never expected that. And that's the same number that we have talked to the village about. We've always said we thought we had a dedicated 24/7, 365 officer for the township, and there was additional coverage for the village. We found out it's 1 officer, but when we say that, it's 1 full-time equivalent officer, which means multiple guys filling multiple shifts, but the presence is there for 8,760 hours. I hope that made sense. So, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. My name's Brian Keeping. I don't live in this township or the village. I live in my city, but we own farms with our family. Spencer Farms has been here for generations. I will say this. Has anyone thought about looking at a little joint venture between the sheriff's department and the local police? So life-threatening, the locals can respond and help. That's what happens in Imlay Township. Anything outside of that, hey, somebody hit my dog, the sheriff's department handles it. I don't know if that's a choice that we could throw at the village also. Like, hey, you cover life and limb. We're going to bring the sheriffs in for pulling people over and all the fun stuff. I just think, like other farmers have said, that the amount on just landowners when you own farmland is getting a little out of hand. And I just think we need to look at that, maybe, Sheriff's Department, Village Police, doing some joint stuff here, cut the cost down on all the taxpayers, homeowners, everybody. And that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Schreider. I'm a Village of Almont resident and a taxpayer in both the village and township. I'm here because this decision affects every single person in this community. I want to ask this board a simple question. Why is a meeting about one of the most consequential public safety decisions in this township's recent history being held at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning? Who does that serve? It doesn't serve the working families of this township. It doesn't serve the parents who want to be here. It serves a process that moves quickly and quietly, and that alone should concern every person in this room. I want to quote one of our own APD officers who recently posted, and I think it cuts straight to the heart of this. Almont PD currently has at least 2 officers on the road 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, covering 38 square miles. They typically arrive within 2 to 3 minutes. Under a sheriff's contract, response time from a general deputy or Michigan State Police is 20 to 30 minutes. When seconds mean the difference between life and death, a car accident on Van Dyke, at a medical emergency, at our schools, that gap is not a line item, it's someone's life. Almont PD responds to medical emergencies throughout the village and township with life-saving training and equipment. They routinely beat both the fire department and EMS to scenes. Our SRO recently extinguished a fire inside the elementary school before it could spread. This own township's fire chief called him a hero. This department has over 250 years of combined law enforcement experience. You don't replace that with a one-page agreement and a discounted price tag. Now let's talk about that price. Yes, the Sheriff's Department has offered approximately $510,000 for police services, but that quote covers patrol coverage only. There is no committed dedicated SRO in that bid. The proposed estimate is vague and waives the guarantee that a dedicated deputy stays in this township when another municipality needs coverage. The village, by contrast, has negotiated in good faith, coming down from $950,000 to $800,000, and signaling a willingness to keep talking. And if this board wants to walk away from that table, the APD will be forced to downsize significantly. I also want to name something directly. This board has been aware that choosing the Sheriff's Department means 6 months to a year with no station officer and no SRO in this township. 6 months to a year. I'd ask every parent, every grandparent, every business owner in this room, is that acceptable to you? We recently had a workplace shooting in the township. APD arrived first. They led the investigation. They administered life-saving care. This and Officer Wetzler's quick action at the OP are not hypotheticals. This is what this department has already done for us, and what we're apparently willing to trade away to save money based on a rough, non-binding estimate. This board was elected to make decisions based on what's best for the people of this township, not what's easiest, not what's cheapest, and not based on pressure from a handful of influential voices. The community is watching, the community is here, and the community is asking you to go back to the table and pay your fair share. If this board votes to contract with the Sheriff's Department today, or in the future, you should know that this community will remember it at the polls and long before then. Thank you.
Short. Mike Alfonsi, Almont Township resident, lifelong. This isn't something that I wrote out, so forgive me. But I understand financial responsibility, and I appreciate you guys trying to do the best with what tax dollars we give you. I question the short-sightedness of potentially decapitating our local police department. Without our fundage, they will lay off. There is no coming back from that. once these individuals are laid off, backing on Jim's statement, triple, that might be under. So once the keys have been handed over to the sheriff, it's a new master at that point. When the rates go up, you're not going to have a local PD to get a second quote. You're going to have to go and stay with the sheriff. That is our new master at that point. That's all I have to say. Appreciate it.
Morning, folks. I'm Addison Spear. I'm the principal over at the high school. Appreciate your time. I don't have a whole lot to say, and my esteemed colleagues prepared something, so I'm going to sound way less eloquent than them. I don't want to weigh into the political ramifications or what's going on here. I trust, I know it's very complicated, and I appreciate that. I'm just here to show up this morning for the folks that have showed up for me time and time again, and for my students, and that's the Almont Police Department and Officer Retzler. I think back on the various situations that we've gone through in the past couple of years that I've been the principal, and how, again, Almont Police Department, Officer Retzler showed up time and time again, quickly, and were instrumental in resolving those situations. I think that our local police force here, they invest in our community, they have students in our schools, and I know that there's a lot to be said about outsourcing, right? You save money outsourcing. That's traditionally something that happens. But I also feel that historically you can see the quality that gets impacted by outsourcing. We invest local, we invest in our community because, again, they give back to the community. So again, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to tell you that I'm a huge supporter of Almont Police Department and Officer Retzler, and I really do hope that we can find a resolution that keeps them here.
Adam Bruno, principal at Orchard Primary. I was there when Officer Retzler, came in to save the day and kept our kids safe. That's just the highest level example of the great work that these gentlemen do. Our kids knowing the relationships that they have for the first time when they're starting in kindergarten. They know the officers in this community. They know if they see that officer on the street, that's somebody, whether it be Officer Retzler, whether it be one of these other gentlemen, they've seen that man in the schools. They've sat there and talked to that person, and they know that person is going to be there to keep them safe. I think the Lapeer County Sheriff does amazing work for this community and this whole county, but building those relationships from a young age, those kids knowing that that person is going to be there, these are going to be the lifelong residents of Almont. You can't replace that relationship with anything else. There's no such thing as choices, only trade-offs, but I think this is the time we make that choice to stick with our local officers. Thank y'all.
Thank you. My name is Gordon Spencer. I'm a lifelong resident of Almont Township. I just would make a couple comments. I'd like to remind the board that at one time, the police protection was only on homes. And then to generate more money, they decided to put it on property. So people that own 10, 20, 40, 80 acres pay more police protection than somebody that has a house and a lot. And I don't think that's fair taxation that's going on here in Almont Township. I would like to know what percentage of your police budget of 600 and some thousand is on bare land, because my bare field does not need no police protection. I don't mind police protection on my house like it was at one time, but to put it on my bare field and make me pay more for something that has no need for police protection. So you're talking now 800,000 you want to do? I think it's ridiculous. That's all.
Good morning, Leo Hager, Almont Township resident, and I had the privilege of patrolling this community for 38 years. And listening to all the comments, and I think most of the people would agree that it comes down to not performance. I mean, you've all expressed how grateful you are, as are the people in this room, for the performance of the Almont Police Department. So that isn't the issue. The way I see it is that it comes down to money. For me, a rough guesstimate based on the taxable value of my home, we would end up paying roughly, if it goes up to 3 mils, about $35 more a month. I mean, that's a lot less than we even pay for going out to Roots for a barbecue hamburger or wherever. So the cost, like everything else, would probably go up. Myself, I'm willing to pay that. I'm not speaking for nobody else, just myself. And in no particular order, a few comments if I could make. Certainly, I'm encouraged by Councilperson Steffler from the Village Council, who wants to continue negotiations, and hopefully she represents the entire council, the willingness to continue to negotiate. And I know the board here says, yes, we're willing to negotiate. Gary even said that, yeah, we're willing to negotiate. And I hope that the village and the township can come together and continue to negotiate. And from a numerical standpoint, I've already seen movement from 969 down to 800. So hopefully and prayerfully, there's going to be room to reach some type of amicable resolution. Cleanliness has been mentioned several times here as it relates to response time. And right now, the Almont Police Department has a phenomenal response time to life-threatening or medical emergencies at 6 minutes. I personally know, as do many of the former officers and current officers and firefighters in this room, how critical response time is. Myself and others in this room have responded to medical emergencies where we had to administer CPR and use an AED, which resulted, thank God, the person living. You add a couple more seconds to something involving a cardiac arrest, and sadly, people could die. Throw in the mix any other emergency, be it at the school or something similar like Trim Limited. As one of the individuals mentioned here, it could have been absolutely catastrophic if the individual had the intent to take out more than he did, sadly. So with that in mind, I hope that you're able to reach some type of an agreement to continue the superb law enforcement services we provide here. If not, I would ask the board to get in writing a guarantee from the Sheriff's Department in a contract that they guarantee to respond 6 minutes or better to any emergency in the township. Short of that means a complete degradation of police services. Secondly, I would ask the board, God forbid if you go with the Sheriff's Department, we talked a lot about an SRO, but the key is a dedicated SRO. As Officer Wetzler, the recent recipient of a meritorious award for his outstanding heroic actions during the fire at the primary school, he knew where to go, he knew what to do. To say that we'll provide an SRO, what does that mean? Is there a dedicated SRO, dedicated exclusively to Almont? Or somebody else mentioned, are they going to be floating? I mean, those are critical issues, and I'm sure the board, God forbid if it goes down that road, will get that in writing. But I, as a taxpayer, encourage you to consider those points. And lastly, I appreciate the effort of the board. I understand the situation you're in, trying to be fiscally sound, but yet at the same time continue to support the department. And I thank you for that.
Anyone else?
Alderman, Almont Township resident. Some years ago, I was elected as township supervisor, and years ago, we had negotiated a formula that was based on the village's budget. I guess I'm not sure why we have gone away from that. It has worked for years and years. It gave them increases based on their estimates for their budgets. It gave us an idea for the township as far as what we needed to do with our millage. And I would request that the township board negotiating team, whoever it is, go back and look at that formula. I know we've had some new management within the township. Hopefully it's still there. The township, we have a copy of it as well. It sits in your drawer, Gary. I think that'd be a starting point to go back and figure that out. That's what's worked for years and years, and we've never had anything like this. It's never been about the performance of the police. The police have always done a fantastic job, and it's nothing to do with that. It's about the money, and we've already got that formula worked out. So I really like to see you go back and go with that, because it was something that we spent a lot of time at years ago when we negotiated that, and it's worked out. It gave them money for cars based on the IRS mileage. So it's all right there, and it's worked. And that's why we've not had issues in the last contracts or anything else. We've had 3-year, agreements with them. We've had, the equivalent of one officer 24/7. That's all figured into that formula. So I would request that you sit down, pull that out of the drawer, take a look at it, and at least that could be a starting point for both, because we had agreed to it at one time. So with new management, somehow, someplace, or some way, it's gotten forgotten. But I would ask you to pull that out and take a look at it. Thank you.
Steve Schneider, Senior, former President CEO of the village for 3 decades. Actually, plus, I've been dedicating myself to this community. So what's happening here is pretty disturbing, because we have a tearing apart of the community school example, for one. No, we don't want to finance the future of our children, which happen to be the future. So Mr. Supervisor Gary and I go way back. In 1997, there was a large gathering of the community, village residents and township residents. We actually had to have the meeting in the school auditorium because there were so many people interested in this issue. The township was covered by the sheriff, and the township was considering using the services of the Almont Police Department. And why was that meeting happening? Because sheriff's deputies would show up maybe 3 days after the crime. The township residents did not feel they were being properly protected. And so the decision was made at that point in time to take on the services of the Almont Police Department, which has grown more and more and more as far as its proficiency. And that's been reiterated here today multiple times. As leaders, as elected officials, it is your first obligation to look out for the health, safety, and welfare of the community. That's number one. Is the financial aspects important? Of course there are. Almost any argument you hear in an issue is taxpayer, taxpayer, taxpayer. Sure, important. And affects people's pocketbooks, but you have to be aware of the fact that times are changing, everything gets more expensive, and now it's going at an accelerating rate. Things just cost more money. Does anybody like paying more taxes? No. However, the reason that the law enforcement services were changed in 1997 is because the township residents were looking for actual law enforcement, real safety protection, and that's been evident by all the people that have showed up here today. I think they're all concerned with, almost all, health, safety, and welfare. They want the protection. And you can ask the lead law enforcement in this community, if you do not stay with the Almont Police Department, it will be destroyed. It'll be gone. And if you know at all what's happening politically at the county commission level, that's the object. I'm sure Gary and I remember Sheriff Ron Calaquin had
good, close relationship with Ron. I would get regularly lobbied by him. Steve, drop the village police department, go with the sheriff. Enhance his budget. That is always the goal, enhance the budget, more power, more control you have. But is that what we're looking for? We're really looking to protect the community. I don't envy the jobs that you have to do because you're between a rock and a hard place. You go to the sheriff's department, there's not a doubt in my mind that your protection will be reduced. We've heard one of our commentators say, all the SRO has to do is put on a sheriff's uniform. Yeah, pay cut. And can be moved at any time because the sheriff has complete control at that point. So but at the same time, you're going to get resistance from the farmers, I understand. Agricultural representative's point of view, it affects him. It has an effect financially. Everybody in this room is affected financially by what's going on in this community, and by what's going on in our state and in our country. So the obligations, you have to do the balancing as you always do. Well, is the financial aspect, or are you going to protect the community? So asking you all, health, safety, and welfare of the community. That's what was decided in 1997, and that's what should be on the table today, beyond all other issues. Thank you.
Gary, I have one question. Gary, over here.
Go ahead.
I just had one question. Steve, in 1997, when that was decided, was the township contracted with the county at that time, or was it casual coverage?
I don't think it was a contract.
Right. We didn't have dedicated police officers here. It's unfair to compare the two. If we're gonna do comparisons, let's do comparisons, right? I mean, it's easy to weigh to one side than the other, right? And I get that. I love the Almont PD and I want to stay there. But it's not just financial. A lot of the information that's being displayed today is not necessarily true. Just because you don't lie doesn't mean it's true either. If we did not have a contract with them at that time, they did not have officers in the township. So absolutely, the response time is less. We've all driven to Lapeer for one reason or another, right? To go to Walmart. It takes a long time to do that. But if there are two officers that are sitting in that building and they jump in the same car and they drive, other than playing Ricky Bobby on the way there, they're going to get there relatively within seconds of each other.
But not if you check the service.
I'm sorry?
But not if your protection is for the sheriff.
If one's a sheriff and one is an Almont PD and they both come out of the same building, get into the same patrol cars and drive to the same scene, the only one that's going to get it first is the one that pulls out of the parking lot first. It's within seconds.
You're saying that the proposal by the sheriff, and no contact with the sheriff at this point, is that there will be an officer here 24/7.
Yes.
That's what you're representing.
Yes.
35%.
Well, that's true. That's true for what we have as well, right? Because we go to Dryden, we go to Berlin, we go to Emily, we cover other.
That's a fraction of a percent. That's not accurate.
But the 35% is not a 35% time. It's a 35% discount.
For the time was. It's in your minutes. You want to see them? It's in your minutes.
The 35% is the discount amount. It's not time.
Our guys think when mutual aid is needed, correct? I mean, that's what it is, what you're talking about. Right?
Absolutely.
So when there's a catastrophic event, like there was, a suspect was up in Inlane several months ago. So it was, I don't know how much all hands on deck.
Right,
That would be a mutual aid where there's life or limb, there's somebody with a weapon, we need all hands on deck. That's when our guys are called away.
Correct.
Now, if it's more of a contained situation, right now, the Almont PD would stay local unless they are tagged in, correct? So what we're talking about though with the sheriff's department, his guys are
Yes.
here. He
It's
can
not
tag those guys
35% of the
in at
time,
any
it's a
point in time.
35%
He's not
discount.
for us, correct? Is that, I mean, and I, if
Do it,
I'm
do it.
wrong, please tell me I'm wrong.
But Almont goes there.
We're getting out of hand. Yeah.
One comment at a time. I'll answer your question briefly, now we've got to get back to public comment. The 35% is a discount. The way it was explained to me by the sheriff is we are not going to leave the township 35% of the time. Where we would leave the township is in a case of a dire emergency, okay? A bad accident, injury accident, a heart attack victim or somebody, or shooting, something of that nature. So you're not going to lose 35% of the patrol coverage, okay? Under mutual aid, okay, that happens quite frequently, okay? If you have an emergency. I think we had Dryden police officers here during the shooting at Trim Limited. That's just a natural occurrence in the world of policing. But to answer your question, I believe, Rick, you're right, okay, that no, we're not going to lose 35% of actual patrol time. No, not.
How do you know that if we're not actually, if the sheriff's department is actually going to sit there, but they have jurisdiction, how does our community, Almont, have anything to say with that when the sheriff's department is going to be sitting there and they're going to dictate what is happening? It is not us, it is not you, it is not you, it is not you, it's none of us. We have no control over it anymore.
The township has that now.
The sheriff's department is gonna have control, and they're gonna tell you, and you what to do.
The township has that now. Sorry.
I want to get to this lady here. She's been patient.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, that's okay.
Go ahead.
My name's Katie Stone. I'm not actually an Almont resident. I'm in Berlin Township. However, both my children go to school in Almont. So, it's not to me to ask all of you to increase your taxes. I understand that. My concern is, a big concern is, luckily I'm a stay-at-home mom. I was able to come to this meeting. My husband could not. Are there going to be more meetings addressing this where the rest of your constituency who works a 9 to 5 can come at a reasonable hour? And so you all said, yes, we want to negotiate. The village representative said we want to negotiate. Are we going to get a guarantee that a meeting is actually going to happen? And will we get the information about it when everyone can attend?
Yes.
Committee level, we will also be discussing this, I'm sure, at our normal meeting on, what is it, May
11th.
May 11th, okay, on a Monday evening at 7 o'clock.
That's been planned for 6 months.
Okay.
When we sent out the tax bills in December, on the back side of the tax bill was the notification that we would be discussing this and making final decision at our May 11th meeting.
So the final decision for this issue is happening on May 11th. That was my understanding.
Would remain to be
That
seen.
public notice is for June.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Will the May 11th meeting be here?
Yes. 7 p.m.
And just so everybody knows, since February of 2024, these meetings are on YouTube. You can live stream them. I know for a fact there are a number of people listening. They're at work, they're doing their thing, but they're listening. And they also are recorded. So if anybody is interested or wants to go back and review some of the facts, you can absolutely access that just through one link on our website. So we are on YouTube, live stream. Please pass that on to people so that at least they can be in the loop with what's going on.
That's great, keeping people in the loop, but those people are not able to add to the meeting if they have concerns. And
That's
that's
true.
a big concern.
Right,
for
for
me.
today,
Yes.
you're correct, yes.
So I
Today.
would hope that future meetings would be at a more appropriate time for I'd say the majority of your residents. And I'm also wondering, why is this not a public vote? Why are the townships deciding this, the township and the village deciding it, when you're making the decision to increase taxes to help keep our students safe, which I think we all agree is the most important thing? Why is this not a vote? And that's,
It was a vote in 97.
it's not 1997 anymore. But respectfully, things have changed.
The vote was to look out for our health and public safety, but I hear exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
I do hear what you're saying.
To compare 2026 to 1997 is almost laughable, unfortunately, with terms to the safety of our students. When I was in elementary school in 1997, the concerns that I have for my children were not even in the corner of my parents' minds. And to think that we could not have our wonderful SRO the whole entire time, all day, is unfathomable to me.
I agree.
The United States, the position we're in right now, there was a school shooting on the second day of school this year. The only reason that we had any kind of where everyone wasn't panicking and going to the school to pick up their kids is because we knew Officer Wetzler was there. So I think you need to keep that in mind. And I think the public needs to be involved more than just you all making a decision. So.
Can I,
Carrie, can I respond to that? Just for our understanding, the reason this cannot go on a ballot as a millage vote is because the township does not own the police department. The village owns the police department. So for us to do that, we would have to own the police department to be able to put it as a millage and a vote to all the residents to say whether taxes go up or not. Because the village is within the township, but the township is not within the village. So for it to be put on a tax bill, it's what?
It's the same. The township land is still in.
Right, but we would have to own the police department to put it on as a millage vote. So that's what I want to make clear. For you guys to be able to vote on it, it has to be the township owns the police is my understanding of it.
My name is Kendall Mix. I live on Allison Drive.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your name, please?
Kendall Mix. I live on Allison Drive, and I just wondered if you guys needed a visual representation of somebody born in 1997. So that's how long ago. I have 2 kids at Almont Community Schools. I've got one that is in a preschool class at the middle school and one in OP. Almont is the kind of town that you can wake up before the sun comes up and walk into town to get donuts. You can leave your doors unlocked when you're running to the grocery store. You can leave your purse in your car because of our police department. And it is without a doubt, the world is changing. Much different than it was in 1997. And he will be the first man to notice the changes in our kids. He will be the first person to step in when something is wrong with them, right? Because those things are going to be missed by teachers and parents, but he will know when a kid has come in different 3 days in a row. He will be saving them firsthand. And it is important to keep him. And I understand you're saying it will be an SRO, but it will not be him, and it will be a different one continually. And they will not notice the habits and the patterns of our kids. It is important to keep this community the way that it has been for the last 29 years of my life. I will never leave Almont because of how it is. And changing something like this is going to change Almont to a degree. And we will not be able to get them back. Won't be an option. They will be elsewhere, and that $800,000 that you're talking about spending will be more because they will know their value to such a different degree. You've kicked them out, now you need them back. This needs more consideration. You can't make a decision on May 11th. It will need much more time than that.
My name is Kevin Kowalik. I'm a taxpayer, both for the village and the township. I'm a father who has children that go to the school district. Obviously, this is emotionally charged and driven for everybody today, and it's understandable why. And everybody has their own reasons and their own beliefs, to which I'm not going to sit here and try to negate anything. What I will mention and will state is we talk about value and dollars and cents. I think it was quoted I can almost quote, it comes down to dollars and cents. I believe that was said at the last meeting. And my question is if you look at the sheet that was made available to you all, I've been able to research myself, how is it that the loaded rate for a single deputy to the tune of $154,000 pre-discount to a tune of $500,000 and some change, maybe 510 from the sheriff's department for a quote. And if they aggregately as a road deputy makes more per hour, has better pension benefits, and an aggregate better fringe benefit package than the officers for Almont PD, then it begs the question, you're not getting something for free. And if it's so discounted, there's a reason. And I would ask to the members of this community, every member of the township that is assessed that amount, and every board member that stands here right now, think about why that is. The paper doesn't cost a nickel anymore. There are no free lunches. There will be at some point in time a degradation of service. The degradation of service might not be as one of the gentlemen who was a township resident had talked about, maybe a dog got hit by the road or a car deer accident. The degradation of service may come at the result of even somebody on this panel having a severe medical episode, a severe violent crime, be subjected to that, because nobody is immune from it. And all I would ask is to just make sure that everybody that sits on this board, when you make a decision, and I don't envy you, and everybody that's in the crowd that is a township taxpayer, I don't envy them, because I know all of you. There are people that come and go out of here. I see you. I see your children. I see everybody in the community. Okay. And all I want to make sure is that you understand the ramifications of your decisions, because if it is that much cheaper, something is going to be compromised. I can't go to a Ford dealership and buy a $70,000 truck and ask them to take out certain parts of the truck. I can't go to the grocery store and ask for a half a box of Rice Krispies because I don't want to buy the whole box. And yes, that is the paradigm or the problem that you guys are in, is you're looking for specific detailed services. And with a full service police department, and I will tell you, it's got to be an absolute compliment to the members of the Almont Police Department to be in this position right now, and hear me out why. Because you guys have a difficult decision to put, quoted from somebody here at the last meeting, dollars and cents over high professionalism, very, very fast and very, very efficient service, to the extent that there was an assertion made that we only have one officer riding around in the township at any given time. I would like to point out, it's my understanding that on Sunday, there was a run that came out on the north or south end of Imlay Township that reported as a disturbance. And that there were already two Almont police officers in the northeast end of the township. They were able to respond calm, and then maintain order to at what point in time they returned back to the township where they originally were, northeast end, until the sheriff's department came about 10 minutes later. So if they can't make Almont Township on a disturbance, and we're always willing to help, life safety, preservation of life, property, people getting hurt. The Almont Police Department has proven that time and time again. Nobody disputes that. All I would ask is that you really, really consider, if it is that much cheaper, for how long, at what cost, in whose life potentially, because we don't know the future, but whose life is going to be put in jeopardy. I thank you for your time. I thank everyone else in this audience that I know personally or in a professional capacity. And that's all I have to say. Thank
you. Stephen Schneider, Village Council member. I don't know about you all, but definitely feeling some deja vu. I feel like we did this all last year. When I was here last year, I made a big point discussing that the village is not interested in subsidizing the costs of policing the township any further. We had a lot of arguments about that last year. Trustee Chris and I definitely explained, or had definitely a few exchanges about the cost of the percentages of use for service. We ended up landing during that meeting on the $650,000 that you ultimately agreed to in that meeting was 40% of our overall budget, and 40% was agreed upon usage at that time with the Clemens direct tracking data that we had. And we agreed that we would continue to do better tracking data. And this year, we're hearing percentage of use doesn't matter. It seems like every time we try to meet and we try to negotiate, you say what you want, we give you metrics for what you want, you move the goalposts. It does feel as though these negotiations keep getting more strenuous because we have a negotiating partner who doesn't actually negotiate. You say you want negotiation. I keep hearing that from this board. Deja vu. Last year, subcommittees getting together to negotiate. They meet, doesn't go well. 45 days goes by while we wait for a counteroffer. No counteroffer. You can't negotiate with a non-existent other party. Same thing this year. We meet with you in good faith. A $950,000 offer is made. We give all of our budget numbers. You're questioning where those numbers come from. That's exactly why we gave you the handout. It's last year's budget, plus the rise in costs for fuel, plus the equipment purchases. It's rather straightforward. We spelled it all out in about 2¼ pages. So there really shouldn't be a question of where it's coming from. Regardless, we gave you that offer. 5 weeks went by. No counteroffer. Similar to last year. Instead, during that 5 weeks, you sought a bid from the Sheriff's Department for a not equivalent service. There has been a lot of discussion today about the type of service that our department offers. When we hired Chief Willis, he did an excellent job, as well as the rest of village administration, building a top-notch police department. Best officers, best equipment, best vehicles, best response times. They're fantastic. We all agree they're fantastic, but that does come with a cost. Last year, we were very clear when you did ask for more than a 1-year contract. That is true. But what you're leaving out is, we were also very clear, we were in the middle of staffing up. Several of the barbs exchanged between Trustee and Chris and I were, again, about the staffing levels. We had a bunch of part-time officers. That is a problem. It creates lots of turnover, which in the end causes a lot more cost because we have a huge equipment cost every time we have turnover for a part-time officer. So we were very clear we were going to get staffed up with our full-time officers. At that time, we were in the process of that rebuild, still doing it. We didn't know the ultimate cost, and we said, next year, the cost will go up. That is exactly why it's a 1-year contract. The following year, we'll be able to offer a 3-year contract because we'll be staffed up. We kept our word. We did exactly what we told you we would do. Now, we are offering a 3-year contract because now we know the actual cost because we've staffed up. I've heard a lot of commentary today about the fact that you pay for one officer, and this one officer is now supposed to cost the $800,000. Well, again, let's be clear. The Clemens tracking data shows that by some metrics, you use up to 74% of the patrol minutes. You are a population of 8,000 people, 34 square miles. The village is 2,700 people, 2.5 square miles. You use more. You're going to continue to grow, and you do continue to grow. The village is out of developable land. So we should subsidize that cost like we have for a long, long time? No, that's not fair. That's not community. That's not the right thing to do. We need to start to find a way to share these costs. So we asked for a 60-40. That's why we started off at the 950. Instead, we get a offer for a non-equivalent service of $510,000 from the sheriff, which is going to provide one deputy, 24/7, which only patrols main roads, doesn't do back roads. You keep comparing it as if it is one officer to one officer. It isn't one officer to one officer. We have 2 on patrol all the time, as was just mentioned by one of our APD officers. If they're in the township, 74% of the time, you're getting more than one officer in the township at a time. Whenever they need backup, you're getting both officers. If you go with one deputy and they need backup, where's that going to come from? If there's a second incident, where's that going to come from? How's that going to work? It's not. There's going to be a downfall in service. What type of vehicle are they going to provide? What are the costs actually going to be? Because right now, this is all a very rough estimate. Worse yet, no one has been straightforward about the gap in coverage while you were to implement a plan like this. We were told last year in speaking with the Sheriff's Department that rolling up a plan like this and actually deploying it takes anywhere from 9 months to 12 months. Mr. Grossbeck mentioned in our most recent meeting that he believes it'd be closer to 6 months. Okay, so in the light most favorable to the township, that's 6 months of people picking up the phone, needing service, no one's coming. You keep saying there'll be an SRO. Officer Wetzler is a village police officer. The only reason he goes into the township and outside of the village's jurisdiction is because it's a contractual requirement. Because we actually have jurisdiction, because we have a contract. If the contract isn't renewed, we can't send village officers outside of the village, with the exception for a life-saving emergency. So, Mr. Wetzler will not be the SRO if there is no agreement. Further, this concept that there will be an SRO, let's clarify that a little bit more. For now, there will be a millage that provides a portion of the cost for an SRO for reimbursement. That's actually a more accurate statement. Right now, the village pays $175,500 for the cost of an SRO. The county millage provides for $110,000 reimbursement. Somebody else still has to pay that up front. We front load that, we pay that, and we seek reimbursement later. So the millage will exist, potentially. It expires in 2 years, guys. You don't know that the county's going to pass it again. Further, the offer that you've received from the Sheriff's Department is so vague, and it's based off of a one-page sheet that does not fully explain what the actual costs are, but this concept of we're going to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay, let's look at that. Our most recent counteroffer, and we have not yet received one, I understand that that's what you're hoping to do today, is to either approve or come up with a counteroffer or decide to move in a different direction. But our offer was $800,000. The actual number that the sheriff offered you for full cost is closer to $770,000. We're $30,000 apart right now for a wildly different service. We've heard consistently today how much people appreciate the service they receive right now. That service will not and could not possibly mathematically, physically, logically be the same if you went with the Sheriff's Department. We're $30,000 apart. The reason we bring it down to 510 is, yes, a 35% discount, which as of right now doesn't exist. The officers you hope to actually make deputies here, they don't exist. All of this is something that has to actually be created from scratch. The contract has to be drafted. It has to go in front of the county commission. The county commission has to approve a 35% discount. Then it has to come back to this board and you have to approve it. The Sheriff's Department has to sign it. Then you have to go and find and hire applicants, train them, get them equipment, and then install them here. That does not happen overnight. Even in the light most favorable, if Mr. Grossbeck is correct, and it takes 6 months to do all of that, that is no SRO in the Almont Community Schools until the second semester of next school year. We are not being factual about some of the downsides and some of the comparisons. You might save a little bit of money. Maybe. Maybe for 2 years. Maybe not. It's disappointing, but I can say, yes, the village is willing to negotiate. We are waiting for you to make a realistic counteroffer. We will not be giving up our fiduciary duty in setting our own budget. We do not ask for permission to set your budget. But if it is something you're interested in, joint ownership of services, we would also like joint ownership of the fire department and a say in how it operates, so that way it can actually pay for the water it uses, so that the village does not continue to subsidize every single drop of water that that fire department uses. If we want to talk about these shared services and these shared costs for what we pay, the village subsidizes every single fire that is ever put out by it. We pay for the most insanely expensive water, and the township residents and every fire that they ever have put out, they don't pay for a penny of that water. The village citizens do off of their back. So if we're going to talk about shared services, you're trying to do your fiduciary obligation, setting a budget. We're trying to do our fiduciary obligation, setting a budget. You want one of our services, and you're asking us for permission to do what we were elected to do. If you want permission to be able to set the budget and control of the police department, run for village council. That's how you get that authority. Other than that, at this point, I really do hope we come back to the negotiating table and we be reasonable. We just have to be clear, the village will not continue to subsidize the cost of policing for the township. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Christy Yarbo. I'm an Almont Township resident and a business owner in the village, so pay taxes in both. Have kids at the school. And I just wanted to say a few things. There's an old saying, you get what you pay for. We know what we have, and I truly believe that it's in our best interest to keep these officers in this department. They have quick response times, they're professional and compassionate, and we've personally used them downtown for traffic issues, issues at our building, and a medical emergency in the township. As many of us know, we've outsourced the ambulance service here in town, and the response times can be slow because they can be coming from a different town, right? Like Dryden, Emily City. And most of the time the officers are showing up before the ambulance shows up. And one thing I was going to say is, I believe I speak for the masses when I say no one likes to pay their taxes. But I personally welcome the increase in taxes to keep the Almont Police Department. Thank you.
I'm Tom Janicki. I live on 8218 Tub Spring Road. I've been here for like 25 years now, my family and I. My kids went to Almont. My grandkids are in Almont schools right now. My daughter worked at Almont in the office for years and years. She never had anything but good things to say about the officers there that helped them out in the coverage they had in the schools. I've always felt safe living in Almont Township. We don't have a lot of burglaries. We don't have a lot of robberies, car thefts, stuff like that, because we're taken care of. We've got some officers on the line. They catch a lot of speeders, me included. But so they're doing their job there also. You know, I've been, like I say, come to boat for 25 years here. Why screw a success? It's going to cost us a few dollars more, granted. But if we're protecting my grandkids and the people in here, our homes, our businesses from break-ins and burglaries, let's spend money. Why screw a success? And besides, the president says the cost of living is coming down, so that'll be a wash.
How you doing? Tom Evans, Almont Township. With the sheriff's department taking over, there's nothing that says next year he doesn't come back and double his price. You guys are on a double-edged sword here. You have some say here. If the sheriff takes over, I've talked to some people over the last few days that are not happy to the south here with the coverage of a sheriff's department, because they do pull their guys a lot. If what Mr. Schneider says is that close, I will pay more taxes for all my coverage. Since the new chief's taken over, I've seen far more coverage than ever before. I live on a private road. Well, once every couple of weeks, I have an officer come down our road, which I've never seen in 25 years. So if it comes down to where it's that close, and the sheriff's department next year can do whatever he wants, in the contract, can we put in it can only go up X percent a year, 10% a year, whatever, instead of a 50% junk, which, let's face it, over the last many years, it didn't go up, now it's going up. Negotiate something into the contract so it can only go up a percentage every year. So in the next 3 years, you automatically know what you're coming up against. But I don't think we should get rid of the Almont.
Russell Burrow, Almont Township resident, also a school board member.
no time, the SRO, I think the administration covered that really well, how important that is to us. Hearing that there's a potential of no SRO coverage for 6 to 12 months is kind of concerning in and of itself because nobody communicated that to the school district until just now. So hearing that, that'll have an effect. I appreciate the financial responsibility this board has. Taxes are hard, inflation is up, people are struggling, and it's good to hear that you guys are so considerate about people's money. That is not your own, and that's really important. However, financial responsibility is very easy to do without considering emergencies. You never know when you're going to need somebody to help you or the police to respond. There was a debate going back and forth between a board member and the community here. The Lapeer contract will be a 24-hour service. Everybody understands that. As he brought up, if there's 2 incidences at the same time, they're not going to have a response time for the second incident. It's going to be horrendous. And right now, we're able to balance it with the officers on staff that they're able to, hey, there's a lot of stuff happening in the village. 2 officers can go to that. Hey, there's extra stuff in the township. 2 officers could, like, they can make that juggle work and also pull our SRO as needed in the case of like life-threatening situations, which happened a couple months ago. So the sheriff contract is not an equal contract to compare to what Almont's getting. Appreciating the financial responsibility of it is a cheaper contract. We are not going to, as a township resident, get the same level of service. And the question will be, and it'll be Monday morning quarterbacking after it's all said and done, is that service enough for these community members who have spouses and grandparents and kids that are looking for that emergency response time? I do agree that if the officer is at this place and it takes him the same time as another officer to get there, that response time will eventually equal out. But if there's anything else happening, they're not going to be able to share that officer and that other person that's having an emergency. If the Lapeer officer is making a traffic stop, he's going to have to drop the traffic stop, get that communication, and then rush off. And there's going to be a ton of that happening no matter what the issue is. And then in regards to taxes, I can't believe nobody has mentioned this yet. 2 years ago, we had a failed bond. The mill rate dropped almost 7 for the entire Almont Township. The mill rate dropped about 7, which on my home was about $800 to $1,000 that came off 2 years ago. There has been no increases that have put that back on. So asking me to pay, I've heard anywhere from $30 to $100 in an extra to have great police service compared to okay police service. I am still paying way less taxes today and next year than I would be 2 years ago. So thank you for your time.
Can I ask a real quick question? Is the school putting a millage on this year?
We've been on Homestead coming up on August 4th.
So that's the 18 mills?
Yeah.
Are you putting a sinking fund on?
There's talk right now of a potential sinking fund for November 2026.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Tim Kraus, live on Glover Road in the township, and all of you members of the board received a letter that my wife sent. Basically, we're supporting going to the sheriff, but from what I'm hearing today, I guess really would like to know more. Is that contract the same that we would be receiving from the village? And one of my biggest complaints about the existing contract with the village, it's like taxation without representation. We're giving our money with no say. So, I mean, if we have a say in what's going on, then, maybe it would be worth it. And if, as Mr. Schneider pointed out, if there's only $30,000 difference, well, yeah, $30,000 is a lot of money. But on the other hand, with what others have been saying is, safety first. Increase in taxes, I've got 20 acres, so that's gonna, hit me a little bit, but it's not that much. But I say both from initially what we've heard, we're supporting going with the sheriff, but that's, I guess, we really would like more information to ensure that it is a line by line by line identical coverage for that much less. And that it would be a guarantee in there that it won't raise by more than X percent. Thank you.
I did plan on saying something. I'm a business owner in Almont Township. Some of you guys know me.
I'm sorry, can you state your name, please?
Todd McKechnie.
Thank you.
Earlier, you mentioned dollars and cents, and you mentioned numbers. My question is, when you were talking about that, it seemed to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it didn't seem like you had all the information of what this increase was. And for me, as a business owner, to know my business, every nut and bolt, every drop of oil, I know where that's going. I know what it's going to cost me. So my question is, do you have this information? Do you see where this increase that is coming from? Is there a justifiable, we're going to have one more patrol car that needs 4 more tires and that much more fuel and that oil change? Do you have that kind of numbers to justify that increase in the money?
We had a budgetary, I guess, paperwork that was given to us from the village. Okay, and I think the actual budget was just under 1.6 million, 1.5 something, right?
We're calling it 1.6, it's barely rounded up.
Yeah,
Yes, correct.
right. So that's what they're calling for, the $1.6 million. And they did show us a line by line expenditure.
Okay.
Do we agree with it? Do we have to agree with it? That's the question.
And I can understand it from a business standpoint and everything. You're looking for the best bang for your buck. And I don't envy you guys one bit. You're doing a job that you make one person happy, you make 5 people unhappy. You make them happy, you make one person unhappy. I do understand that and everything. But my question is every 1 and 0 on the table that you guys can look at between the two of you? That's more of a concern to me, is there's a lot of emotion in this room about changing things. And change is inevitable. Can't stop change.
Right.
So going to the sheriff department or keeping Almont Police Department, that's whatever. But if you have the correct information to make the right decision, that's more of my concern. 2,700 people in the village. I believe you said 89,000 people in the township. And the village controls the police department? Seems a little backwards to me. Seems like 89,000 people here. Yeah. Okay. That's huge. But still, that's a big number though. 8,000 to, this is called 3,000, 10,000, 3,000. It's an easy number to look at and see that there's more money coming from the township just per capita.
But not into the budget.
Okay.
For the police. It's never reached 50% ever.
Why hasn't it been then?
That's what we're asking.
Okay. So that's just, a little bit, I didn't plan on saying anything, but as I heard some of you guys and everything, there's so much feeling and emotion in here, misinterpretation, things are misunderstood. Then you have Facey Page putting it all out there and everything that, we're not gonna have an SRO. It sounds like we are. It might not be to the same level, but it doesn't sound like that's been put out on the page yet, that this is what we're gonna have. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding everybody correctly, that you guys do have these numbers. You guys are able to come to an agreement. It's just a butting of the heads to try and get there. But everybody does have the same page with the numbers on it. And that's my concern, is that you guys know what's going on.
The reason that it's on the table right now is because it has become increasingly aware that the village taxpayers have been subsidizing township taxpayers. And so that's what we're trying to resolve.
Okay.
Fair.
And it's budget time. We all have to put budgets together. That's why now is the time. They're trying to figure out what they need to spend. We're trying to figure out what we need to spend. So we're gonna have to do this every time it's budget year unless we reach a longer term contract. 1 year, 3 year, 100 years, whatever it's gonna be, we're gonna keep doing this every time it's budget time and we're not in the middle of an ongoing contract.
And as a business owner, time is money. And here as we sit, this is time. This is costing money. Length of contracts. And I'm just seeing this now.
So I don't have a back history other than some of the stuff that I've heard from some of the people here and everything. But that's just, how do we alleviate having to do this every year? How do we come to an agreement on this stuff that's realistic? And again, Republican, Democrat, I don't know what to say on that kind of stuff. But
We're trying to work these issues out.
And I appreciate that very much. But I just wanted to make sure, like I said, that was, everybody's got the same page and everybody's looking at it. Because it sounded earlier like everybody wasn't on the same page. But again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for letting me talk, and good luck.
Thank you.
Come up to the podium.
Katie, again, sorry. With regards to what you guys were saying, who or what is stopping you guys from being on the same page?
I guess it's, from my personal opinion, it's a budgetary issue, okay? It's not, there's no question that we would like to retain Almont PD, okay? But I think we need to sharpen the pencil. I was told by Mr. Schneider that it's their budget, not ours, but we're paying 50% of the budget. I think we should have something to say about the budget, okay? So that's where we're at.
So how do you guys reconcile that?
Well, that remains to be seen.
And it's a legal issue too, Gary. It's a legal issue. Legally, Village owns the police department. You own the fire department. I haven't heard anything from this board that, yes, we are going to share the budgetary concerns of the fire department with the village. Village and control that. And legally, you own the fire department, village owns the police department.
That subject matter reference the fire department in the 20 years I've been involved here has never really been discussed. I'm not necessarily opposed to it if we shared that budgetary process,
And we're
okay?
not alleging that.
But I'm only one person on the board, so.
We're not alleging there's been mishandling the fire department, although this gentleman sitting next to me said, we're subsidizing the fire department too, because you get the water for free, which we pay a ton for.
I think what has to happen here would be nice if it could happen. That we need to consider Almont Township, Almont Village as Almont, okay, and work together. Thanks.
I have one question, in my talk.
I'm sorry, can you come up to the podium? Thank you. I'm
But
sorry,
it
what was your name?
Was a Jennifer Stewart.
Thank you.
Blue Heron was a moot point, but maybe it isn't a moot point. That how the contract with the village stayed at 450,000, give or take, for the better part of 1 to 2 decades without.
It didn't.
And then just, and if I'm wrong, then please correct me.
It did not stay
Okay.
at 50 for decades, no.
Right.
So it has gradually gone up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that helps then. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And to compensate for that, as the growth of the township went up, that's why the millage rate did not change for the township, because the taxable value went up aggregate of the homes that were being built. As homes were being built, the township was collecting more money, therefore could pay more money to the village based on that millage rate.
And now we have, and just.
Now there's a big
Well,
offset to that, and you see how much we've been building, but yet there's still this huge,
And then a lot of
huge offset.
The pre-existing homes, people have original owners, like our home, our original owner has left. The assessed value, our assessed value has changed every year, taxable value, since we moved in. So 3 years in a row, our taxes have gone up. So you see some more income coming than that. And that's huge from somebody who's at a very low.
Well, keep in mind that the taxable and assessed value are two different things, right? So assessed value can go way up based on market. The taxable can only go up what it's allowed to by law, which is a fraction. So someone that's been in their house for a long time, their tax, you can have 2 houses that were built right next to each other. They've stayed in there for 20 years. 4 or 5 people have cycled in and out of that house, fair or unfair, the way that Michigan tax code is. This house pays tremendously more taxes than this one because of the taxable value and the uncapping. So.
Okay. Is there anyone else out here that would like to, Kevin?
Just reference off of the gentleman's point.
Can you come up, please?
Just a reference off of the gentleman's point, if you have, in the last 5 years of real estate, you've had a lot of turnover in the township and the village. Property taxes have gone up. There's an uncapping segment for the, we'll call it the more legacy portion of the community, to your reference, where assessed value, taxable can only go up a certain amount, 5% capped, or whatever the CPI is.
Yep.
Okay. But when that transaction takes place, as the young lady right here mentioned, the uncapping portion comes out. And then also with the new construction that takes place, because they are deemed as vacant residential parcels, those will too uncap. We've got how many? I don't know the specific numbers. You guys would. The development behind Blake's, there's a handful of them, 30, 40 units. Within the next year, they're going to be assessed as a completed residential structure, at which at point in time, there's going to be quite a bit of revenue captured from them. And to reference the original point, they deserve the proper amount of service too. So, but I just wanted to draw an inference to indicate that when properties do sell, where you have this disparate amount of state equalized value versus taxable, that will catch up upon transfer of the township.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of people selling. We have a lot of residents moving in because they appreciate what they have here, all inclusive. So, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Sally Tenaskew. I am currently a resident of Dryden, but a Raider for almost 30 years. Back in 1984, we didn't have all the issues that we have now that are in the kids' faces. We didn't know about school shootings. We had bullying, but we didn't have all that stuff. One spring morning in '84, in a Catholic high school in Illinois, there was a young man who came to school not in uniform. I was about this close to this gentleman and made a comment to him that you should really go get changed. The bell's going to ring in about 2 minutes. And 10 minutes later, the teacher across the hall from me was shot. Of course, we didn't know about, school shootings weren't a big thing back then. 40 years later, it is on the top of the minds of the kids. We put this into their minds all the time. If there had been somebody back then, or if it had been something that was a, God forbid, regular occurrence, and there was somebody that was in the school constantly, that was a regular face, that we knew, that we could trust, that we knew, hey, there's something a little off today, I should probably just go mention it to this person. Just kind of, hey, this person doesn't look right. It sounds like if God forbid we go the wrong direction with this thing, if we have an SRO in the school, but it's going to be somebody kind of different on a daily basis. It's not the same thing, but can we guarantee, because listening to this, it doesn't sound like that. Hopefully it is, because I know the kids, I have a granddaughter right now in Almont, and I know that she's making friends with all the teachers and the officer, principal. I know that she would feel comfortable saying, hey, something doesn't seem right. I was a paraeducator and I ran morning program for quite a few years with 60 kids in it. And I had a rapport with those kids that I knew by looking at them, that kid's having an off day. Something's going on. But I also saw them outside of school. I saw them on ball fields. I saw them other places. When I had to move away a few years ago, people would ask me, how many kids do I have? And I said, well, I have 500 children, 2 biological, because all these kids were my kids. And they felt comfortable enough to come to me and talk to me. And if there was an issue and I saw a kid in class that it seemed off, and the teacher was like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, well, I know that last night this happened, the family had this sport, or they had whatever. The kid didn't get enough sleep. Little things like that. The little things that you just notice with your kids in the class. If we get somebody different all the time, I know Officer Retzler is seeing stuff, he's building a rapport with these kids. We need that in the schools. We need to have somebody that is always there, that the kids recognize, they feel safe, they feel comfortable with. So I hope that we keep that in mind during all of this. Thank you.
Anything else from the public? All right, if not, we're going to go. Howard?
My name's Howard Rudd. I live on Glover Road. I've been a resident forever here, and not since 97, since 47. So I've been around, I've seen change, and what I really want to tell this board is, I really appreciate you guys weighing all the facts. There's been a lot of misinformation. You guys brought it across. I came here, I didn't know that the media was saying that we're going to get rid of the SRO officer. Well, I have a grandson that goes to that very school. And here we are. Nobody will look at both sides of the thing, negotiate it. And through the years, being a business owner, you usually weigh all the facts. And that's the problem with this country. They don't look at both sides of the issue. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to new business, which obviously is the police contract. So I'm going to open the floor to the board for any comment. It appears that the greatest faction, I guess, or percentage, if you will, of the people that showed up here today, less the agricultural community, are more in favor of an increased millage. Okay, that's the least what I'm hearing. Okay, obviously that's our decision as a board. So we have a contract offer, a 3-year contract offer at a 50-50 split for $800,000 from the village. It's my recommendation, I guess, at this point, that, and I'm speaking for myself, that we continue, which was planned, from the beginning, to continue negotiations with the village. The contract offer from the sheriff is still something that I think this board needs to consider. We don't have a hard number back from him yet, but he's gone out of his way to accommodate our request, and I want to make that clear that that was our request. The sheriff was concerned about some obvious political fallout, which I don't blame him. So he didn't seek us out, we sought him out. It is the intent or the desire of our township board to retain the village. So I would love to entertain the idea that we continue to negotiate with the village representatives to come to a contract agreement if at all possible. So that being said, I'll open the floor to the rest of the board for comments or suggestions.
I have one question that I need to ask an audience member first before we go forward with that. Stephen, the budget for the police department, you guys have not approved that yet, right?
Neither municipality has approved any budget. How are we going to budget when we don't know whether we're serving 2,700 or if we're serving over 10,000?
Okay. Fair question, but how do we approve 50% of what number? Because when I had a conversation with Mindy yesterday, she said that you guys hadn't even considered it yet for approval.
Correct.
So we're looking at rubber numbers from both sides, and I want to make sure we have firm numbers.
Cart before the horse here, Rick. Let's just be honest.
Right.
You want us to look at and approve a budget that presumes that we are with you, but we can't. We have to come to an agreement.
Potato. I mean, right?
Right.
We can't approve money that we don't know as well.
The village also did not approve the budget before you guys agreed to sign a contract last year. We were waiting to approve our budget until you did agree to sign the contract. That's how it's worked every time. We can't pre-approve a budget that pre-assumes a contract with you. It's not possible. So just again, remember that you've been provided with a copy of the handout that gives all of the breakdown, because that's what this number is based off. It is last year's budget, plus the cost of increasing gas, fuel, the cost of the additional equipment of $178,000. That's how you go from our 1.4 million last year to our nearly 1.6 million this year. We thoroughly spelled out exactly those numbers. You can take a look at last year's budget packet, our audit packet, all on our website. public information, and then this is the additional cost tacked onto it. It's not, difficult math here. We're taking exactly what it was last year, adding on some additional costs.
So 2 years ago, it was 1.2 million, and that included the 177,000 in liability insurance that was cast upon due to the lawsuit, right? That was backed out of the cost, so we're back at 1,072,000, and you guys actually spent like 1,043,000 last year.
Are you referring to the handout that we've provided, or are you referring to other numbers that you guys have decided to run internally?
These are numbers that I was provided. So,
Internally, right?
okay.
Not numbers that were provided to us. I'm not going to verify it. I can't speak to it. I don't know. And plus, also, by the way, don't speak for all of village council. Just one opinion.
I agree.
But I don't have those numbers, nor have I gone over them, so I can't verify the accuracy or not. I can refer to the handout that we provided, which was the nature of your question, what our budget is, where those numbers came from, and whether or not we've approved it yet. We haven't, because we can't yet. Those numbers would change for what we would present to village council if we did not service the township. That's what we gotta know first.
Okay.
My understanding was, at the last meeting, we all offered $950. We waited 5 weeks. Our counter was $510. The village rejected that offer, and at the same meeting said, we counter offer you $800,000. And they said, we have to take that to our board. And that was the purpose of today's meeting, was for this board to vote on the $800,000. Accept it or reject it and make a counter offer. That's my understanding.
How do you bring any numbers to the board if your board hasn't approved it?
Did you hear what I just said about how can we approve before? Because that's the point of it, it's
How do you make that
negotiation.
number without a board agreeing? That's all.
Last year's budget, the exact last year's budget, plus equipment costs, plus the rise in the cost of fuel. That's how we got those numbers.
But shouldn't that go according to your board, like, present it to them?
You want us to pre-approve budget before we approve the budget?
Before you present it?
So you want us to vote on a budget before we can vote on a budget?
Well, don't you think everyone should be in agreement to what they're gonna bring to this board?
Absolutely, but we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. We can't pre-approve a budget before there's a budget, just like they can't.
That number was given to them, so how do you
What do
give
you
a
mean the
number
number?
when all your board did the same?
Because that's what, just so we're clear, that's what the village manager is paid to do. He is village
So
administration.
one person.
Can I jump in real quick? So just kind of getting back to what we're talking about. I think 800 is too much. That is me personally, but I think this is salvageable. Gary mentioned it. We want to continue with Almont Township. Absolutely. But there has to be room for negotiation on both sides. Are you guys prepared to work with us?
Then negotiate, then vote.
Okay.
And then vote to make a counteroffer. You keep saying you want to negotiate, but you don't make an offer. I'm sorry, it's disingenuous.
Stephen,
Make an offer.
wait, I'm not your enemy here, Stephen. I've known you since you were this tall.
I keep thinking that. You want to negotiate?
Can we negotiate looking at the big picture? Can we work on the budget together? Can we try to make this all come together in the interest of Almont as a community?
There's negotiation, there's control. They're two different things. You want to negotiate, negotiate. Make us a counteroffer.
Will you let us,
When you say, we want to have a say in the budget, that's control. That's authority. That's what we get elected to do. That's our fiduciary responsibility. We are doing that.
are you open to working together with these numbers? I think we could
Yes,
work on
that's
it together.
negotiation. Yes.
So we're open to that then. This is still salvageable. We can still do this. Just in a reasonable way.
Again, is this board prepared?
I have a suggestion. It's just me here, listening to everything today. To try to retain Almont Police Department, what I would like to see personally, I don't know about the rest of the board or whatever, and you can shoot me down for saying this or whatever, but I would like to see the Almont Township Board as a whole and the village as a whole come together, negotiate together, and that way everybody's on the same damn page as everybody here, because I don't want somebody, the committee to come back and say, well, this is what's going on.
the board together. Also, in that, I would love to see the chief of police there, even though he's not, but I want him there. Because many times I talked to him and said, what?
For everyone to see.
In the evening.
It'll be in the evening, but I don't know the particulars. Would it have to be an open meeting?
It's open meeting. We've done this before, and I've been saying that since.
That is my suggestion as a board member right now.
A full joint board meeting, I said that. It's an open meeting, it has to be, and I completely agree. It's how we remodeled this building and built the police department. We had subcommittees that could not come to agreement.
Yep,
We did full joint board meetings, all in the open, all in the public.
We can talk back and forth to the council and.
Steve, you and I discussed that briefly on our last meeting.
Exactly. I've been saying it since last year, we had the same issue negotiating. I said we do one private meeting, in my opinion, when it doesn't.
And it'll be on the air too, so everybody can listen.
We might need it at the school. Mrs. Vaughn?
Go ahead, Mike.
I don't know if it's, I just, out of respect for everybody's time, I think there's kind of a missing amount of information from both sides, from the sheriff, from the village. I mean, there's information that needs to be gathered. I guess I feel just to kind of move forward, I'm prepared to make a motion, but it's actually two separate motions that I think will lead towards closure. So if I could I try them out? Tell me I'm not the expert at writing motions and I'm going to need help, Jenny. But I guess my first motion would be to continue to authorize the supervisor and the negotiation team and whoever else is appropriate, if it happens to be the entire board, however that gets formulated, but to continue negotiating in earnest with the village and ultimately establish a highest and best offer at the end of those discussions. Okay, we have to move the ball to somewhere, but I think it has to be legitimate, it has to be diligent, and there has to be a sense of urgency. And if it means a meeting every day for 5 days out of the week, that's fine, that's okay. But I also think the second motion would be to engage in earnest with the sheriff to clarify, understand the costs, the coverage, and the contract that the sheriff will make available so that a lot of these questions we can answer with certainty. Okay, there's just too much speculation. So I would make those as two motions. Get the information, the intent is get all the information from the sheriff and know exactly what we're dealing with there. And then sit down with the village in a very diligent, programmatic way and get that to where we can get it. And I think if we do that, it'll become a very simple vote at that point to say, okay, which path do we take? Those are my motions. That's how I would propose it.
Okay, Jenny, you've got two separate motions.
Yeah, Jenny, I
will rewatch the tape.
I'll support both.
Okay, we have two motions on the floor. One, to continue in earnest negotiations with the village. And the second one to continue negotiations or waiting for a contract offer with hard numbers from the sheriff.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna take them one motion at a time, I would presume. So we have a motion on the floor, two motions on the floor with support. Any board discussion here?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
In their proposal, and this is what bothers me a little bit, is estimated costs for fuel. That's a challenge, no question about it. Increasing your vehicle fleet from 4 to 6, and then one-time equipment charge of $178,000, equipment that's needed. That drives to the contract that's this big, and that's gonna drive the cost for the next 3 years. So that cost, I don't know why you need 6 vehicles, but that's stuff we could talk about. But a one-time cost in this contract, first year, drives that next 2 years' costs. And those costs could possibly be spread over 3 years, instead of paying them up in one. Driving the cost up for the first year in the contract, and then add 3% to what's inflated if you could spread it over 3 years. I want to make sure that's clear, because those are one-time costs. And I'll tell you, the challenge on fuel, I don't disagree with it. But you got one-time costs of $178,000 for equipment. And you're adding 2 more vehicles, all up in the first year.
So, just.
I'm not discussing it.
Okay.
That's my point.
All right. Any other discussion?
So the number that has been presented to the township at 800, we're just gonna let that stand there as now, and then are we agreed? We can't agree to it.
No.
But do we want to disagree to that today and then continue on negotiations? That's just,
It would be, in my opinion, that we consider it without.
until further negotiations.
Until further
Okay,
negotiations.
I just wanted to get that, clear that area. So my.
Any other?
I have a question about your motion, Mike. So when you say work with the village, you mean the village council, the village manager, or the village negotiating team?
I would prefer that it be the entire village council, but I'm not going to dictate who they should have at the
Okay.
table.
Okay,
So if we can make it work with a combined meeting, like Randy said, that's great. That's great. I mean,
Okay.
it'd take a little bit of, magic
Right.
to control it. But
okay,
if it happens to be a negotiating team, then we had a negotiating team. Let them talk however we want to do it. But not a 5-week gap between discussion. Give it a
Right.
sense of urgency, get it somewhere so that by May 11th, or at least by June 9th, we have a good understanding
Okay.
of what we're really
Right.
looking at.
I just want to know how it looks moving forward. And is this going to be a roll call vote?
Yes, it will be.
Okay, thanks.
So Jenny,
How did I sound, Jenny?
for purposes of clarity,
Yeah.
I would like to refer to them as motion number 1, motion number 2.
Okay.
Okay?
So I had a question
Go ahead.
regarding that. And I think this is probably what you're thinking, Stephen. There's no extension of the current contract.
Correct.
We're in the same boat that we were in last year.
Correct. And the purpose of today's meeting was to vote on the 800 or make a counter. And now we're here, we'll continue negotiating. That's not an answer. This is what I mean. Participate in this process.
So I'll modify that.
Negotiate, actually do it. Don't talk about it, do it.
Okay, I will modify it if that's the concern. Portion 1, when we talk about engage in continued earnest discussion with the village and establish a highest and best, I guess the precursor to that is that I would propose that the 800,000 is turned down at this point,
It's part of your motion.
per my motion.
You got support on that.
Yeah, I'll still support it.
No support?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He said-
You support it?
yeah,
I'm sorry.
He amended, yeah, with the amended motion.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay, are you ready, Jenny?
Yep.
Okay, that's his motion number 1. Roll call vote, please.
Chris,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Streeter,
Yes,
Swears,
Yes.
Hennigy, yes. Eschenberg,
Yes.
Grosbeck.
Yes. Okay, motion number 2, motion is approved. Motion number 2, which is to continue pursuing numbers, hard numbers from the sheriff on his contract offer. Okay, roll call vote on that.
Chris,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Hennigy, yes. Eschenberg,
Yes.
Streeter,
yes,
Yes.
Swears, and Grosbeck.
Yes. Okay, that motion is approved. Question I have, when do we all want to meet?
Well, here's the question. Can I just ask for further understanding? Was the purpose of the first motion that now your negotiating committee now has your authority to make a counteroffer, or are we still at a deadlock of we've made an offer, no response?
No, my intent, and I'm not speaking for the whole board, my intent would be that the negotiating committee would be empowered to come up with a reasonable counteroffer.
Obviously, subject to your approval later.
It appears that the dance is now, I have the next step in the dance, so I think you all agree with that? Okay.
The other thing too that the board should be aware of, that in our meeting in May, that if we, it's the 11th, right?
Yes.
if there's no progress on the negotiations, that we should probably consider some sort of an extension if possible.
Our board had been expressly clear, no extensions on our June 30th contract, same as last year.
Well, then strike that.
Let's cover that during negotiations, okay, rather than today, but that could change.
So-
Depending on who your team is.
So if we're gonna do all board meeting, what roadblocks are we looking at? Because we've got to notify the public, right? Does it have to be in the newspaper, or can it just be outside?
It's a public meeting.
Well, I want to make sure.
It just has to be
This is
public.
the land of roadblocks, right? Let's remove all the roadblocks and get to the meat of this, and,
It just has to be published 18 hours before the meeting takes place.
okay.
It's not different than doing any other type of public meeting.
Just standard procedure.
Can I just suggest that, Gary, you guys would be the initial figuring out, consolidating how next meeting will take place, who participate, how that'll go. I imagine that's probably the best, that you take point on coordinating how that'll work.
We will pursue that, yes.
And where?
I don't see why you can't have it here personally, but whatever the two boards want to do.
Is it a negotiating meeting, or is it an open forum meeting? That would be the first to decide.
Disagree, I'm not gonna speak for the village at this point.
Right.
I'll let him go to Dale, I think he can coordinate that.
I think the thought was to have two full boards. So I
Right,
think-
right, but is it two full boards and the public, or is it two full boards and negotiating?
It would have to be. If it's gonna be the two full boards, I think it needs to be at the high school in the auditorium so that people can attend.
The current
gonna be
existing
a big
negotiations are not open meetings.
We're talking about after, if you've got a negotiating committee, you just authorize making a counter offer, that's completely unnecessary for doing two full boards, because it's your full board. There is no negotiating committee, it's your full board. Or you're doing a negotiating committee, which would not be full boards. I am open to either, preferably, I would like both full boards, because I think we just might actually find resolution. Or, if you guys prefer and want to authorize a counter offer, come up with a counter offer, and make the counter offer. We're happy to receive one. Whatever you'd like to do, so we can take a step forward. Those are just two very different things.
My 30 years of experience having full boards meeting, we've had that several times, and every time there was a positive resolution. And there's some committees, and then you just went back and forth. My recommendation would be full boards, full village council, the whole township board, has to be open meetings to have the best chance of getting it done.
Can we set a date tonight? Today?
14 of us together, we don't find it to be a party. We want it to end and not happen again. So
You gotta talk to village before you can set a date. You would have to talk to the village before you could set a date. So no, we can't right now set a date.
See what you can do, Steve, and keep me informed, and I think most of us are, other than Rick maybe, are pretty flexible. Rick's got an out-of-town job a lot that takes him away, so I'd like to work around Rick's schedule if we could.
It's not necessary. I'll make accommodations to be here. I flew home for this, so, yeah.
Can't leave, Rick.
Yeah, just let Gary know your days that you're available, Rick. You know, like Mondays, Tuesdays, or something like that. Or Tuesday, Wednesdays.
I will accommodate. That's.
Got it.
So are there any other issues that need to be addressed, Gary? Tonight? Do we have the motions we need? This is from a guy who had 4 cups of coffee this morning and hasn't been to the bathroom since.
I think we're good for today's purposes.
I'll make a motion.
Hang on, wait. We didn't finish the agenda. There's a second public comment there. I mean, I think we exhausted that, but.
Yeah.
There is a second public comment if anybody would like to speak. Now's the time. Okay, if not, we'll move on to board discussion.
Oh, wait.
I have nothing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, Adam Eckert, school board member. It seems like a lot of this that went on today, for lack of a better term, wasted a lot of people's time. You guys had thousands of dollars worth of people, man hours in this building for this entire time, and you guys should have gotten together ahead of this, figured it out. That's a problem.
Yeah.
I wanna know what happened today. What the hell happened?
Nothing.
Nothing. We all wasted 2 hours to look at you guys. Nothing. Absolutely nothing happened today. A bunch of fluff. Zero happened today. Can you tell me what happened, Mr. Grosbeck?
I tend to disagree with you, sir.
Can you tell us what happened today?
What happened today is we've agreed to come to terms with the village on a board-to-board negotiation.
That's it.
Okay.
This whole meeting.
Well,
That was a pretty.
wait, in the motion that Mike Chris made, he did say that we were turning down the 800,000 offer. So we did turn down their offer. So that is what took place, is we turned down their second offer to us.
Make it like, talk about it. Like,
No, so-
it's such a secret then.
So what was accomplished here today is the input from the audience, right? Because that's what took up the majority of the time. While it may not look like anything had gotten
You
done.
know what we're all here for. For a decision. Somebody make a decision, move forward. I feel like we're walking out of here with nothing.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
I think that the board has had a chance to listen to what we, the taxpayers think, and they've gotten a chance to know the feeling, and they've clarified some of the things, and the fact that they clarified the fact that the information from the sheriff is very much incomplete. And I think also maybe we've given them something to think about for the way, if they can change the way taxes are done between agriculture and homes. Because right now, all of us are paying a fortune for our food, but I guarantee the farmers aren't making any money. And we need to do something because we're gonna be the ones bitching when we have no food.
But we knew all this before we got here. So what have we done?
I think what we did was we came and instead of them making a really bad decision, we got their input. Now, furthermore, it'll happen again, a decision will be made. Instead of them deciding to go to the sheriff's office today, which is probably what would have happened if nobody came to speak their mind, they now know that they have to go back to the drawing board.
It has to be aired out because once we give that money, we have no input as to where it goes. So we have to make sure that everything is in line before we actually come together, because we have no control, they want the control. So we have to know what's going on. So that was important in this, so they get a feeling of how we feel or how they feel, the different feelings, but the idea of just handing over money without any kind of input once it's held over is scary. That's
Well,
not
that's
good.
what would happen if we were
That is
sheriff's
the same
department too.
predicament with the sheriff's
So that's
office.
why you need to
You've got
get
no
all
ownership
of the stuff
in the sheriff's
worked out.
office.
And then,
I have
It's
something to
contract
say real
sales,
quick.
correct?
I might get up in front of people.
One at a time, please.
Can people come to the podium? Because the people can't hear on YouTube then.
I have two children that went through the Almont schools from preschool, graduated, went on successfully, college. When my daughter was in high school, she was bullied. And I went to the principal, nothing happened. I went to other parents, nothing happened. We had to hire an attorney. I walked in the Almont Police Department, they made it happen. They went into the school and lit fire underneath that principal. And I mean, we lost sleep over it. It was horrible. She missed snow coming. And if it wouldn't have been for the Almont police, nothing would have happened. She might have gotten herself killed. It was that bad. And I'll tell you what, we've been out here for 36 years. And what I don't understand is why all of a sudden are we short to pay Almont Police Department to protect us and serve our community? I walk real early in the morning and I see a police car, they wave. That's a peace of mind. It's protection. We're getting older now. God forbid something happens with my husband or myself, they're there. There were shots fired 3 o'clock in the morning. I called the police department, they're there. So the health and safety, increase our taxes. I want to stay in this community. We want to die here in this community, so I think they need to be here.
Appreciate your comments.
I'll make this quick. Tony Demo.
Go ahead,
I'm in the township. I live on Purnell Drive. I guess I'd like to understand, what is the time frame for motion 1 and motion 2? Because it really needs to happen.
So let me
I think
ask,
that's what
when
we're
is our
hearing here,
meeting?
right? We need to set some dates and work to those dates.
The one that you published in with the taxes?
That's not till June.
June?
Yeah, whatever the June meeting is, June like 10th or something.
Okay,
like
so,
I would hope we'll have that meeting within a week.
Well, yeah, but that's one meeting to maybe
so
do the same thing, but then you gotta have another meeting and another, so there's gotta be a process here to keep on driving to the point to get to the,
June 8th.
to get to the end,
There
right?
is, the actual formal public hearing on this topic is
June 8th.
June 8th. That's what went out with everybody's tax bill. That's when this was supposed to happen, the evening, June 8th. Today was a meeting that was scheduled to bring all the board up to date with where the negotiating team stood. And it did morph into something different, which is good. We got input to temper our reaction to where the status is right now. So my guess is by no later than June 9th, there will be some level of pretty firm decision at that point, because we have to make changes, I know, in the way the financials are running, but between now and then, I'm going to leave it to, this is me, just me talking, between Dale, between the members of the village council, and between Gary, there will be a rather diligent schedule of meetings till we finally get to that point where we can walk in on June the 9th and say, here's A, here's B, here's where it's going to go.
Because right now we're at 2 weeks to May 11th, right?
Which is our next regularly scheduled
Well,
meeting.
right, 2 weeks. So I don't know how many meetings you're gonna have. It can't be in a week or something like that.
Yeah,
Because we got 2 weeks there, and then after May 11th, you got what, another 4 weeks to get this resolved, right? So there's not much time.
I totally agree. That's why I said
judiciously
and diligently.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for hearing. I'm sorry.
If I could add just one thing, if we have to raise the millage, that obviously has to go for a vote. And when would that happen?
Because it is a special assessment district, the board decides every year what that millage rate will be. So that's why we have that public hearing, that's why we have that public hearing in June, and at the June meeting, we will set that millage amount so that that can be addressed on the tax bills then.
Thank you, Steph.
One more about this concern. One of our residents brought up a very valid point, which was be able to have input with where the money's going and what it's doing. My question for the board is, we mentioned contract services with the Almont Village Police Department, and then we mentioned contract services with the Sheriff's Department. Are you guys able to, and I'm not asking you now, but maybe can you delineate the difference in your ownership of the Sheriff's Department, that you want ownership or involvement or a seat at the table, as has been mentioned in the last year or so? Do you get that equally with the Sheriff's Department? Has the Sheriff's Department told you that you will have equal ownership at the table? And now my experience would suggest that the Sheriff's Department will give you whatever you want, which is a pseudo ownership. It's more like a selection. You can select the services you want. They will give you what you want or what you don't want. In Lake Township, they decide to have 20 hours of patrol from the Sheriff's Department in any given week. That's their selection. So it's kind of like a la carte, so to speak. That doesn't necessarily give you ownership. So the mention, just to make sure that I feel good as a township taxpaying resident, feel that we're being fair across the board, you guys mention ownership and a seat at the table for the police department on budgetary items. I haven't once heard, either in past township board meetings, which I follow, or today, the same emphasis placed for the Sheriff's Department. What I gather is that's because, and this is an assumption, I could have certainly be clarified, that's because there is an a la carte option as to what you guys see as proper amounts of service, notwithstanding any control. Because as many township members and people here present today have mentioned, is the cost controls. And people have talked about possible solutions and safety nets to put in place with regard to minimizing that increase to 10%, whether it's for us or the county sheriff. But what I'm hearing today, and I've heard in the past for the rolling year as a resident, is that you want a seat at the table and you want some sort of control. But we all know that won't happen with the sheriff's department in the equal level. What may pacify that, and again, assumption on my behalf, what may pacify that is the a la carte special. You could do it in Lynn Township for 20 hours a week, however you'd like to see it. With a professional organization, you have an instance where it's very hard to a la carte because then the remaining time where they're not being a la carte in the township, and I'm just using that as my own personal phrase. I'm not saying anybody here on the board has mentioned that's me saying that. What do you do with that? How do you pay that person? How do you pay the benefits and so forth? So I just want to feel comfortable enough, and I'm not even expecting a response, but I just want to feel comfortable enough in understanding that we're putting the Almont Police Department in a paradigm of ownership. And never once have I heard that mentioned about the Sheriff's Department. I'll have to assume that that's because you can select in an a la carte fashion the services that you guys feel are proper for your residents in your community. And that's a tough decision. I don't take it lightly for anybody that's on the board. But just so I can delineate the two for my own sake, and maybe I can sit out here in the public sphere and make sure that other people can look at it from that aspect too. Because, you know, when it comes to risk of liability or anything else, and if I recall correctly, and this is something that somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, there was a summary motion or a motion for summary disposition on a certain litigious act that occurred a few years ago that took the township out of it. Am I incorrect or no?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There was litigious information or litigious acts that occurred for a former employee of the Almont Police Department. And it's my belief that summary motion was granted for the township because their exact, and I'll paraphrase, statement was, we have no control over what the police department does. Correct? Okay. So in order to have control, as I understand, we would want some of the liability.
Absolutely.
We would want some of the other things. So we're, as a township board and as residents, you're willing to bear the liability and potentially for the input, right? And if that's the case, then there's the factor of cost. It's kind of a triangle. You can't have one without the other. So I just want to clarify, because what I heard was ownership and a seat at the table here, but I have not heard that once about the Sheriff's Department. And what concerns me for, fellow township paying residents or township tax paying residents is that they're clear that that was never mentioned. I'm just curious on the delineation between the two. So
Kevin, we would clarify that with the sheriff when we get some hard numbers.
Okay. No, I just don't
Appreciate your comments, yes. Anything else from the public? Okay, we're gonna close. Yes,
she's got one.
Go ahead.
Kind of piggybacking on what he just said, if I had an issue right now, say Officer Retzler, which would never happen, but if I did, I would go to the police chief and I would say, hey, there's, I don't think this is correct. If we have an outside source coming in, who do we take that issue to? We come to you guys and talk to you guys about it, or, who are their higher ups that we would have to go and address these issues with? Because right now, at least it's right here, and we know who the police chief is. We know who we have to go talk to. Hey, this person's doing this. I don't think this is right. What would we do if it was some outside source?
Ultimately, it would be the sheriff, okay? Ultimately. Unless he decides to offer us a patrol sergeant, then it would be the patrol sergeant. But all these things are still in process, but I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, if not, we're gonna close the public comment portion. Move on to board discussion. I have none myself, okay, at this point. Anything from the board?
I have nothing.
Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
Make
for
a
adjournment?
motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we stand adjourned. I thank the public for your attendance.
Mike?